Welcome back, everyone, to Lesser Known Operators. I'm your host, Nicholas Allen, and my guest today is Morgan Lerette, also known as Blackwater Dude 1 on Instagram. He was a Blackwater contractor in Iraq, a U.S. Army intelligence officer, a combat veteran, and the author of Guns, Girls, and Greed. You can pick that up on Amazon. Guns, Girls, and Greed is an unvarnished, behind-the-scenes, tell-all account of the scathing and dangerous life of mercenaries at war in Iraq. Little known fact, for every 100 million copies sold of this book, I get a free trip to Iraq. So make sure you guys go out and pick up your copy of Guns, Girls, and Greed today. Today's episode is brought to you by the Precision Wellness Group and Dr. Taylor Bosley. Precision Wellness Group helps you restore balance, unlock vitality through bioidentical hormone therapy. Dr. Taylor Bosley is a board-certified physician, emergency medicine physician, a U.S. Army veteran, and a former Green Beret. So what comes along with that? Dr. Taylor Bosley knows where you've been, where you want to go, and how to get you there, because he is an actual doctor that can prescribe you actual medicine. If hormone replacement therapy is something that you have been thinking about for a while or just looking into now, look no further than Precision Wellness Group, and they will be able to point you in the correct direction because Dr. Taylor Bosley really cares about your well-being. I will have links to their socials along with Morgan Lerette in the show description. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, comment, pass these episodes along. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Morgan Lerette, welcome to Lesser Known Operators. Thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, thanks for having me on, dude. I appreciate it.
Oh, I love a referral. Michelle sent me your way. Obviously, you two have known each other longer than the 48 seconds we've known each other, going production and pre-production now. But we're getting to know each other better by the second here. So I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you.
Yeah, it all started when you took your shirt off and I saw those arms and I was like, fuck, man, this is a guy I need to know.
Yeah. And then I start talking and everyone's quite disappointed. So, but it's one of those things. As long as I can keep my mouth shut, people will assume that I guess, know what I'm talking about, or at least I know how to pick up heavy things and move them, or at least pick them up and put them down. One of the two. So, like,
What's the
it's
old
a
adage?
trade-off.
It's like, it's better to, stay silent instead of opening your mouth so everybody knows that you don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember what it is. It's like fucking Jesus said it or something. I don't remember.
It's in the Bible. It was in the back. Yeah, it's in the appendices. I know what you mean. But to open your mouth and remove all doubt,
There
I
it
believe
is.
is the end of quote of that. Question for you. Obviously, so I'm gonna kind of jump forward and then jump right back, but I don't like doing this. But check me if I'm wrong here. You were with Blackwater for 2 years, right?
18 months. I want to
18
be
months.
very,
18
I
months.
have to be very specific because the Blackwater guys get so ass hurt about me writing this book that if I say
Okay.
anything that like changes the narrative, they're like, see, I told you he's a big liar. So June 2004 to like December 30th, 2005. So 18 months. And the only reason I stayed until December 30th is you got a $3,000 bonus if you stayed for Christmas.
Okay. Um, okay. Sidebar question. Are people ever shitty to you about any of that in person, or is all the hate online?
Oh, dude, it's all online. It's all these old. Here's what I've noticed is that Blackwater for a lot of people was like the apex of their life. Like they got the bear paw tattoo. They walk around with their Blackwater shirts on. They tell everybody they were in Blackwater. And then when I came out with the book and I'm very honest in it, like probably to a fault. Like we did some good shit, we did some bad shit. When I came out with the book, these people are like, you are besmirching the good name of Blackwater and we will have none of it. So a lot of keyboard warriors. I had one guy go on a YouTube clip of me and say, well, he's not invited to the annual reunion. And I was like, I
Oh
don't go
yeah.
to
Well,
my high school reunion either,
you're not
motherfucker.
coming to
So
Thanksgiving then, sir.
yeah.
Your invitation's off the table. Fuck you.
Yeah, it's
No,
catty, dude. It's so
people
catty.
will say a lot of things in the comments that they would not even say 1% of. in person. At least that's what I think. I noticed that with a guest I had on last week, or posted the episode of, and people in the comments were brutal. And I'm like, man, you would not say this to her in public, especially not with her husband around. And like, oh God, so I'm like, man, you guys are fucking hiding behind the court. But no, I say that because um, it's not the same world, right? You know, if you actually got to know the person, you'd be like, oh, maybe we're not so different after all. But you can apply that to anything in the scope of people disagreeing online. I think in person, we would all agree a lot more than what is we're led to believe online.
Yeah, dude. I mean, everybody that I worked with in Blackwater that read the book was like, "Dude, you nailed it." They're the people that came later with me, the people that didn't work with me. They don't understand my just disturbing sense of humor. Those are the guys that got all butthurt, and those are the guys. It's the vocal minority, right? It's the guy that's like, I don't have anything else going on, so I guess I better just type Blackwater into Google to see where my old people are. I mean, think about what you have to do to find me is you have
Yeah.
to go into Google and you have to type in my last name, which, dude, is not an easy last name to spell. All right. Like, not most people look at it like Lire, like LA. What do fucking, they have to find my name to go onto a website to get offended. Like, they're taking 4 to 5 steps to do this.
Well, maybe for them, that's the instant gratification that they like. Have you ever seen that show In the Shadows, where he's an energy vampire, and all he is he's online sucking people's energy through the comments section. And I was like, that's pretty spot on. Like that's what these people are doing. They're trying to suck your happiness out of you by just trolling you in the comments when they might be getting, it might be actually making them happy to do this sort of thing or rile you up. And, but
Maybe they need it
whatever.
because somebody sucked the happiness out of them. Here's what I think: just go jerk off if you need that.
Well, I guess so. I guess so. But we're not, let's not go too far down the rabbit
This
hole of
isn't
sadness
OnlyFans, all
there.
right?
No, I mean, but you can send me money. Check it, lesser known operators at gmail.com if you want to send me money. But so I go back to my original for bringing up the timeline, right? 18 months, you know, in the grand scheme of things, that's not a huge percentage of your life or even your service to the country, right? Why did it make such a lasting impact on you going forward from that point? Did you just accomplish more and do more things than most people do in their lifetime during that period, or why did it leave such a lasting impact on who you are now?
I mean, it did, right? Because you have to put it in perspective too. I was 23 years old. I was making $550 a day, and I was working outside of any military paradigm that I had ever known, right? I joined up right out of high school. I was in the military, I was in the National Guard. I was activated for 2 years after September 11th. And then you go and you work for a company in a combat zone that doesn't have the same rules, the rules of engagement, the restrictions, the babysitting, all that other stuff. So, I mean, it absolutely left a lasting impression. And part of that is that, the age I was in, 23 to 25, essentially. Um, and the people that I met are also leave a lasting impression. Like, these are the smartest guys I've ever met. And look, dude, I went to Tufts University. I know some really smart guys from college, the Harvards, the you name it. The people that I met at Blackwater were bar none smarter than all these guys. Now the difference is when they got out of high school, they didn't have somebody that was like pushing them into these fancy Ivy League schools. They were like, dude, I'm going to go take this determination, this grit and this intelligence, and I'm going to go into the military and I'm going to go do like the baddest, coolest things ever. Right. Whereas, I got some buddies that they did their undergrad at Notre Dame and then went to Columbia University and UCLA. And that was kind of their path that was shown to them. So I think it's very similar to people that are like educationally driven, but these guys are just driven by adventure and wanting to be the best. And education was not like their priority when they were growing up. So, yeah, I mean, it was the people, it was the time frame. 04, 05 Iraq was just, it was just a different animal. It was private military contractors going into a war zone and being used in ways that had never been done in the history of the United States. It was the amount of money I was making. But at the end of the day, if I had to put that 18 months into perspective, it was very formative. It changed the way that I looked at life going forward. But it was still, to your point, it was only 18 months, man.
Yeah, well, I think back about it because I was only in group for 3 years, I think. I spent 2 years getting there and 3 years trying to just get to the Q course. So 8 years in total, but completely focused on that one thing. And I think about that too. Like, why is it such a such a part of my persona, right? Some guys it becomes their whole persona, and that's that they never leave Pineland or however you want to say it, right? But I don't think there's anything wrong with that as long as you're casting like a good light. You're just being honest about the what you're doing, and you're not trying to bring people down. I really don't think there's anything wrong with that. Be proud of the things you did, but it's I'm just pointing out. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just how it is. People go through things and it makes such an impact on them that it carries on with them for the rest of their life. Like you can you can distill that down to people live with things that happen that were only a couple seconds, right, in their lives, traumatic events, and they never get over it um, forever. So it's just interesting to hear
Dude,
what
yeah,
you.
but you see this everywhere, right? You see people's license plate that's like the Ohio State University. Like
You know,
you have to be proud of it. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm proud of what I did. At the same time, it doesn't consume my life by any stretch of the imagination. And that's I do I see your point that the military culture, I think, does kind of lend itself to, hey, this is my personality. And if you think, I saw something the other day, but if you think about it, we're asking military members to assimilate into a civilization that they never actually knew, right? If you joined the military right out of high school, the only thing you knew was the military. And whether you do 4 years, you do 8 years, you do 20 years, you're assimilating into civilian life. And everybody's like, well, you're assimilating, implying that you were there once, but you weren't. You were in the military. And dude, my biggest gripe is when I talk to former military guys and all they talk about is the military. It drives me up the wall. But then at the same time, I totally understand it. Like that was your
yeah,
life.
it's not the same planet either. You
No,
don't even, you're not even the police department, the fire department, the grocery store, the teachers, they're all on base. And nobody ever leaves base to go be part of normal society except to go get in bar fights at the bar when it's penny beer night on outside of town or something like that. Um, you're never really part of the community until you're like a higher rank or something where you're part of those groups and things like that. But no, there's nothing wrong with it. But yeah, it's just a perspective of how it affects people going forward. Let's do some contrast here for you. You enlisted right out of high school, and regular army, or you said
Air
reserves,
Force.
Air, Air
Don't you
Force.
put that poison on me, goddammit. Air Force.
Whatever. So you were smart enough to join the Air Force. I didn't write my notes down correctly. So at least you're treated a little bit more like an adult. But what was the decision to go do that and not one of the other branches?
Dude, so I joined in 99. That was back before everybody was like, it's patriotic to join. It was almost like the people that joined the military had nothing else going for them. And I say that as me. I had nothing else going for me, right? Dude, I was like the wet dream for every recruiter, right? I was a poor white trash kid. I wrestled in high school. I was the guy that like didn't want to work construction, and those were the only jobs in Cottonwood, Arizona. And dude, like when I say I was poor, like we weren't homeless, but if I woke up on my birthday and didn't have an erection, I wouldn't have anything to play with, right? Like we didn't have a whole lot of money. We were the food stamps people. Um, so when I joined up in 1999, every recruiter came in, and the Marine Corps, dude, they had me. Dude, they had me in their grips. The guy's like, "You're gonna fuck shit up. You're gonna blow shit up. It's gonna be awesome." And I was like, "Man, that sounds cool." And then I went home. My grandfather's a World War II veteran, and he was in the Army. And then when he got out of the Army after World War II, he joined the Navy. And he said, Morgan, if you're going to join the military, go in the Air Force because they have the best food. That's all the thought I put into it, dude. That was it. Like everybody. I mean, and the same with the military is the military when they recruited you, they'd say, "Hey, this is a 4-year gig. At the end of it, we'll choose whether we want to retain you or not." Like because it was a peacetime military, and that also went through my head. It's like it's peacetime. We're not going into any wars. What the hell? I may as well go into the Air Force, the Air National Guard, and then get my training as military police, and then I'm going to come back down. Security forces, got to be very specific. We call ourselves security forces in the Air Force, but it is military police. Um, and then I can come back to Cottonwood and I can become a cop when I turn 21, and I'll get my college degree with that GI Bill. And, I had a pseudo plan, and then September 11th happened, and that goddamn Osama bin Laden, he changed a bunch of stuff for me.
That I've had a few guests on that have said that, like, the majority of the force was enlisting. I don't want to speak for the, but a lot of people went enlisted for that GI Bill, for the college, and they're like, we're just here so we can get college paid for. Was that a lot of the people you ran into?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, in the National Guard, you get all kinds, right? So you have the Army guys. We had like 4 Force Recon Marines that came in. They all joined the National Guard for a little bit of extra money, GI Bill on top of what they had coming out, the Montgomery GI Bill. So, I mean, it really was. It was just a different paradigm, right? It was under I enlisted under Clinton. Like, holy crap, that's how old I am. And there was a reduction in force. And I mean, honestly, it was a lot harder to get into the military back then than when you saw the GWAT kick off, especially in Iraq. They were taking any mouth breather going. So it was just one of those things like the military could use you, but you want to use the military to get to where you want to be was kind of everybody that I knew that enlisted, and there was a lot of us, dude. There weren't a whole lot of people that were going to college. Um, like none of us went in there to be like, I'm gonna go over there and kick some ass in Afghanistan. Like we were all
Yeah.
just trying to figure out life.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely changed. I mean, and changed is not even the right word for it. On September 11th, we're in a different world. We're not in the same place that we were, a couple hours ago. And at one point, yeah, weren't they were taking people. They're like, oh well, oh, I see you got a couple misdemeanors, but we can work with that. And there was waivers for everything up to like a felony at one point. Whereas before September 11th, nope, nope, denied, 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 denied. So, but things changed. The needs of the country changed. But did the Air Force have better food for you?
Fuck yeah,
Up
it did. Goddamn, dude, the food at basic training was better than the stuff I was eating at home. Um, Well, dude, and then you look at basic training, right? It's like 6.5 weeks, and then AIT was 2.5, 3 months. I can't even remember off the top of my head. Like it, at no point when I was in the Air Force was I like, oh my god, this is overwhelming. Now here's the good of it is like it wasn't difficult for me. Um, the bad of it is that I didn't really like I didn't even know what like special operations were. Right? There was that shitty movie Navy SEALs. That was about it that came out when I was a kid. And you had like Charlie Sheen being like, I'm God. That's all we knew. Oh, wait, G.I. Jane came out. So I knew about the SEALs.
me more. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but like I think a lot of people in the special operations career field going into that, they go in as the infantry, then they go to Ranger School, then they go to SF, right? There's kind of like that natural progression where when you get in, you start seeing what is available, right? Recon Marines don't usually start as Recon Marines. They would start off as infantry, then they would go into Recon, Force Recon, whatever it was. Um, so I didn't even honestly like I didn't even know the special operations world existed except for like some of the fairy tales. I didn't grow up with people that were in the military. Like people's dads weren't in Vietnam that I knew. Like I just looked at it like, hey, it's a stepping stone. I'll go get this training, and then where life takes me after that, it's going to be good.
Well, at least you were, security forces. You were SF, kind of, Air Force SF. But it is, you don't know some of those things exist. Even me going through the pipeline and like, I'm going to be a Green Beret. I didn't know what the fuck that was. And then you get there and you're like, now, oh my God, there's all this other shit. Well, they didn't tell us about that. And then, oh, there's shit above that too. Well, so yeah, I can totally see that because the recruiter, they're just getting you in the door. All the other shit you're gonna learn later. It's just get you signed up, get you going. But why? So you wanted to be a cop? Was that really what you wanted to do, or is this you're just trying to, you're picking stuff?
Dude, I mean, I was 19. I didn't actually know what I wanted to do. All I knew is that I hated my dad. I'm like, "Ah, I hate my dad. Ah." It was either become a cop or go to old OnlyFans. So it,
In '99?
hey, I was gonna start it. I'd be rich. Um, but like my dad was such a criminal scumbag type of dude. I was like, what is the exact opposite of what this guy is doing? And I thought, yeah, like I would literally be the guy that's arresting scumbags like that. So that would be pretty cool. Now, the one thing I learned through the National Guard, we had a ton of police officers, and those guys were the most jaded, grumpiest assholes I've ever met in my life. Like when they look at people, they are looking for what those people are doing wrong. Like almost to a T, none of them would be like, "Oh, hey, Morgan came in." They'd be like, "Oh, it looks like Morgan probably would be blowing a .06 from last night's party." Like the world that they're in is so jaded and so frustrating that they become jaded because of it. And it only took me like 3, 4, 5 months of hanging out with those guys. And I was like, dude, I can't become a cop because I didn't want to look at the world the way that they did. I did not want to sit there and be like, I mean, dude, you could drive around with these guys and they'd be like, yeah, that guy's had a couple beers. He's got drugs in the car. He's like, dude, their whole life is consumed with what people are doing bad. And it makes sense. Nobody calls him and says, "Oh, hey, you know what? I was just speeding. Can you come help me out? I was endangering people." Right? Their whole day is like dealing with people at their worst. So of course they're going to be jaded. So that's why I was like, dude, I don't really want to be a cop anymore. Now what the fuck do I do?
Hmm. What are your options at that point? Because so you determined this pretty early, but I get what you said though about because nobody ever calls a cop and is like, "Hey, I got some good news for you. I bought you lunch." Well, I guess that's come now later on in years, but hey, let me buy you lunch. Let me hold the door open for you. It's, hey, get lost. You're trying to arrest me for doing something wrong here. Um, and everybody, because I noticed that you get into every field, like in construction, when you walk through a house, if you're in construction long enough, you can kind of just look around and go, yeah, I see how they did things here. And that, it's not as, you're not looking at how nice the place looks. You're looking at like gaps in the trim or something like that. And I can imagine as a police officer, everything that you go around, you're like seeing how can this kill me, or how much paperwork am I going to have to do for this person that I now have to arrest, and how long after. There was this stand up comedian. He's like same thing. He became an MP, and he's rah rah rah. I'm going to be a great MP. And he goes out 3 in the morning. He did 6 to 6, right? And 3 in the morning, he pulls a guy over for DUI. And then all of a sudden, it's noon. He's still on shift and he's still processing this guy for a DUI. And he's like, well, I am never pulling anybody drunk over ever again. He was like, he goes from, I'm going to be the best MP there is out there to, I'm the worst MP because I don't want to have to work extra. So I can see where you're coming from with that.
Dude, I work in IT. I look at people's websites now and I'm like, I know what's feeding that. I know what this is doing. I know what that's doing on the back end. It is a natural thing for whatever career field you're doing. Right? Like it I I don't know. I wish I could say that I had some kind of a plan. I didn't. I just noticed stuff. My grandfather used to always tell me like do everything, right? I grew up working construction. I grew up with like doing mechanicking, plumbing, electrical, you name it. My grandfather would say, do everything because at least then you'll figure out the shit that you don't want to do. Um, so I mean, it kind of sucks that I went through basic training and tech school to figure out I didn't want to become a cop. But at the end of the day, I was like, well, at least I know I don't want to do that shit.
Yeah, and it's a contract. It'll end. But, you know, what did you decide to do at that point then?
Well, I didn't have to decide. September 11th hit and we got activated for 2 years. So I got my nice hiatus. So we got activated. I remember on September 11th, dude, my phone was like blowing up. And it was a house phone,
So
you know,
that's a
because I'm
terrible
old.
pun. That's a terrible pun. That's really bad.
That was not on purpose. Um,
Yeah.
but everybody starts calling me. I woke up just in time to like turn on the TV, see the second plane hit the tower, and I was like, damn it. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen, but I had class. So I get to class and my pager is going off, you know, because that's what you had back then. My pager's going off. I go to a cell phone. I call down to my base, which is in Arizona. And they said, hey, everybody's being activated. Literally all hands on deck. Get your ass down here. I'm about 2 hours away. I'm screaming down the road as fast as I can. I got my uniform hanging up in the back, so if I get pulled over, they'll be like, "Hey, this guy's probably doing something importante, right?" Um, so I drive down to the base, and it was like DEFCON 4. You know, the U.S. is under attack. You have to have people. I think it was like every 100 meters on the fence line, you had to have somebody posted up. And it's September 11th, and it is Phoenix, Arizona, and it is hot as shit. So they sent me out there with an M16 with a full combat load, and all I did was stare at this empty, like drainage canal. And then I-10 was out there, and they were like, "If anything suspicious happens, let us know." And I did that for like 3 days, man, to the point that like I was so bored that I was just calling it, "Hey, a car broke down on that bridge. We better check on that." Like, dude, it was miserable. There was no sunscreen. Finally, after like day 2, they gave us a water cooler. Um, but you just sat out there like waiting for something else to happen. And the crazy part is that it's right. It's attached to Sky Harbor, which is an international airport, gets a ton of traffic. No planes in the sky. So it's like this very eerie quiet that I wasn't used to being in that area. No planes, no nothing. The only planes in the sky were ours. They were the tankers that would go up there and refuel jets, and that was it, man. So we did that for I think it was like 72 hours. We did that, and then finally they said, "Hey, your 1 week orders have turned into 1 year orders. Let's figure this shit out." And then I like most of the time, right? Afghanistan kicked off, so there wasn't Afghanistan only had like 15,000 people in it, right? 15, 20,000 soldiers at any given time. And then the Air Force started, flying over to support that mission. So my first deployment was to Masira Air Base, Oman, which is a little island outside of Oman. And it's where they have the P-3 Charlies, the sub hunters. But it was also where they had the AC-130 gunships. That's where they stationed them to go into Afghanistan and lay down some hate. Um, so I did 3 months over in Oman with those guys. We did flyaway missions. I got to go into Pakistan and Jordan somewhere. I don't even remember, man. Where you could go and you would escort like generals and stuff that were going to hang out with the mucky mucks in other countries. And we had our own beach. We had air conditioned tents. We got 2 beers a day if we wanted them. It was like the best deployment ever. So all I did was hit the gym, hit the food, and get as big as I possibly could for 3 months. And I was like, oh, okay, well that was kind of fun. Like, I guess I look at it like, and we'll probably dig into this a little bit, but when I joined the military, you get trained to do all this stuff. And then when you don't get to do that stuff, it's kind of frustrating, right? Like you sit there and you're like, oh, we get to go to war. I mean, I know I'm speaking to the choir here, but like, think if you were a plumber and you go to your mom's house for Thanksgiving and your stepdad fucking drops a huge log in the toilet, and
That
everybody's
went a
like,
different direction than I thought we were going to
call
go,
the
but all right.
plumber. And you're like, dude, I'm a plumber. Like, I can do this. I don't want to touch this turd, but I can make this happen. And they're like, no, we don't want you to do that. Call the plumber. Like, it'd be kind of frustrating. So Oman was kind of that frustration point for me. It was like, okay, this is it. Like I'm literally, watching planes as they take off or driving around this crappy little base. Like this isn't really all that cool. Um, so I came home, had a hernia surgery, and we had another team go to Jordan, and I was like, fucking put me on it. And they had a dude that like, I don't know, people are weird, man. Like he lost his mind in Jordan. It's Jordan. It's safe. You're fine. But dude, like this guy was just like in his head thought that he was getting into the poop and lost his shit. So he came home. They sent me over there. I'm in Jordan, and it was a little base called Prince Hassan Air Base, and it was all secretive back then. But you can Google it. Nobody gives a shit. Um, it's where we had all the SF guys, the Rangers. We were sending them into northern Iraq, kind of in the Sunni Triangle area for like scud hunting. We had the Predator drone. It was armed. It was cool, man. I got a picture of me standing on my buddy's back, humping the Predator drone, because that's what you do when you're 22 years old.
Normal. If you're listening at home, that's normal military
Yeah.
activities.
Yeah. I mean, I got a picture of me humping the AC-130 gunship. Dude, you hump everything. I think that's how that
Pretty
works.
much, or
Yeah.
use it as a pseudo phallus.
Yeah. Yeah. So, then dude, when you walk off the plane, they literally had a guy with the smallpox vax. And like you walk off the plane, you roll your shirt up there, like boop, boop, boop. And they stick you with the vax. So go into these little bathrooms, and there's 5-gallon jugs that are just full of like pus filled band aids. And it's like all the Rangers, all these dudes, just, you take your band aid off, you drop it in there. It's like the grossest shit it smelled so bad. Um, but I don't know, something political happened. They found out that we were in Jordan doing this stuff. Uh, and they were like, well, where can we go? So they sent us all to Kuwait because Kuwait don't give a fuck. Kuwait's like, go into Iraq, man. Let's make this happen. Dude, they set me up in a 5-star hotel in Kuwait. They gave us, I think it was like $140 a day in per diem. And you could eat at the hotel. You could like had this big, nice swimming pool. You could get Cuban cigars. We were living the good life. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is why I joined the Air Force. Thank you, Grandpa. Rest in peace. Um, and then and then the war kicks off, and we're watching it on our TVs. Yeah, we all had TVs. We all had our own rooms.
Obviously,
Yeah, I'm
obviously.
not.
This is for those listening home. This is where your $10 trillion went.
Yeah, and and I was an E4 at this time, so yeah, as an E4, I got this. So the ground offensive kicks off, and they say, all right, it's fucking go time. We're going to go start this airbase. We jump into, I say jump, like we fly into Talil Air Base, which is in South Iraq, just south of Nasiriyah. And the only thing we knew going into it was, I think Jessica Lynch had been captured. I think we found that out actually when we were on ground. But Jessica Lynch had been captured. J-Lo was dead. We knew that. Fucking J-Lo was dead. I have no idea why. Um, and we were only going to be in Iraq for like 90 days, and then we were going to be done, and everybody was going to leave, and it was going to be fine. Because this is the rumor mill when you get in the military and you're going into combat operations. So we drop in, and everybody's in mop gear because Saddam's going to gas us at any given moment. It's fucking miserable. It is the most miserable time of my fucking life. I can look back on it fondly now, but dude, when you're in full mop gear and you got full kit, I only had one plate because
For
we didn't
those
plan the war very good.
for those listening at home, I forget what MOP stands for, but it's this uniform. It's very thick, and it's designed to prevent chemical attacks from getting onto your skin. You also wear there's different levels of it. It's basically winter gear and a gas mask. So there's 4 levels, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 includes the gas mask. And Iraq at this time is 140,000 degrees Fahrenheit, usually during the day.
Dude, I don't think it was over like 139.
Okay, winter. So,
But
and
yeah,
you're wearing full winter get up in, it's 140 degrees outside.
yeah, and the mop gear, I had the old shit, dude, like the green stuff. Um, Mop gear is made of charcoal because theoretically, if a bomb hits and it spreads all these biological weapons, the charcoal will absorb this before it gets onto your skin. Now, I'll tell you the nice thing about mop gear is that because it has charcoal, it absorbs all your fucking stink. And there's no showers. There's no nothing, dude. So, well, I mean, we're literally digging cat holes. We're taking a dump and then fucking digging cat holes. It's all MREs. There's nothing to eat besides that. So we're rat fucking every MRE we possibly can. We're on water rationing because the ground offensive is moving so fast that we can't get support up to the front line fast enough. So there's not enough water to go around. We're trying to get that stuff to the front. They gave us 2 liters of water a day. I was the first person. This is my claim to fame. I was the first person to jerk off in Iraq. It was like day 3. It was pretty good. Combat whack. Got that one in. Even got caught, so I had a witness. I don't know if I should be proud of that, um, but but dude, like with mop gear in eating MREs, you could sit there and put your ass in somebody's face and you could fart and they wouldn't smell a thing. It was like the greatest thing ever until it was time to go to bed. And you
That's
took that.
that's the greatest thing ever. That's what you got.
That's what I got out of it. Yeah,
Good.
yeah. So we're bringing in like POWs. We got mop gear on. When you take this mop gear off in our tent, dude, the whole tent just like, dude, it reeks. It just smells like dead bodies at this point. Because we didn't know if we would ever get resupplied, you take your socks off. You got to wear them for like 3 to 4 days. And we had like a little 550 cord above our beds. Put the socks on there to let them dry out overnight. And then when you lift the socks off, they kept their form. Like they were like, it felt like putting on fucking newspaper every morning. But one day, this is the greatest combat story I've got. One day I saved up my water for like 3 days and my buddy did the same thing. And he's like, what are we going to do with this? And I was like, we're going to wash our hair. So we go out, dude, you take your suspenders off your mop gear, take your shirt off. We pour some water on our head, grab some Perp Plus. I remember it. It was green. We wash our hair. Suds are coming down our face. It was like those Pantene Pro V commercials or whatever, where the girl's like, dude, it's like suds everywhere and just dirt. Dude, like you could watch the suds hit the dirt and get you clean. And we finally get done with that. We walk into the tent and dude, it just goes like dead silent. The second we walk through the door and somebody goes, what smells good? Who smells good? And we're like, we washed our hair, dude. And they're like, what? How'd you wash your hair? And like, dude, it was like the greatest thing ever, just washing my hair during the ground offensive. It was, dude, aside from like having my wife and the day I got married, my kids, I think washing my hair in Iraq during the ground offensive is like right below that, dude. It's like number 4. I got another great story. I've never told this story. You ready for this one?
Let me cue it up here. I'm going to make it into a short already. Go ahead.
All right. So we brought in these POWs off of a C-130 and you line them all up. You give them a glass of water, put sandbags on their head, duct tape around their eyes so they can't see anything. This one POW is like rolling over on his side and he's like, and dude, I'm the low man on the totem pole. I'm the lowest ranking E4. They're like, Morgan, go figure out what's wrong with this guy. So I go over there. He doesn't speak any English, but I can tell he's about to crap his pants and he doesn't want to do it. So I go put on these purple gloves and I'm like helping him get his pants down because he's handcuffed. He can't do anything. As soon as I get his pants down, he is wearing zebra striped panties. Can't make this up. Zebra striped panties. So I help him get his panties down. Lots of hair. I'm just going to throw that out there. Lots of hair. Was not ready for that. And he blows mud so violently. Like, I wish I would have it on tape. Like it was like Dumb and Dumber where the guy's on the toilet after eating it. Like it was that bad, except no toilet. So I give him an MRE box to wipe his ass, not knowing that these people don't know how to use toilet paper. Like that's not their forte. So I give him like literally the chili Mac box, and he's like trying to wipe his ass with his hands handcuffed, trying to get the turds out. I give him a wet wipe, from one of the MREs. I feel like I've really done my part in the war. And then I pull his choners up, still zebra striped, help him pull his pants up, sit him back down, and he's like, oh. I mean, this was like a recurring thing for hours. This man just having the worst dysentery that I've ever seen in my life. But only in Iraq do you get this stuff. So when you say like, oh, why do people hold this as a badge of honor? Because, dude, you're never going to get an experience like that unless you've got to go serve.
As opposed to the sanitized version that Americans are seeing on the news. This is what's actually happening in just that's just your unit on this little piece of hundreds of thousands of soldiers. I don't know if it was hundreds of thousands, but getting close to six-figure soldier invasion. And this is just your unit doing whatever little piece they were doing. There's people all over the country uh, doing their part, wiping asses and taking names, I guess.
Like that that is true. Don't worry, there's a picture of me out there with my purple gloves on with this dude somewhere. Because that's what your buddies do is they document it.
Um, yeah, the recruiter never told you about that. That's now we're gonna now there's gonna be a time when you're gonna be in Iraq covered in shit. That's I didn't remember. I didn't do that. That was all your commanding officer. So take it out on him. So how long were you guys in Iraq for before they rotated you out?
Dude, it was fast. So the intent was we start this air base. We had the first aerial supply route that was like getting shit to the Marines that were running north, right? Because the Marines went through Al Nazariya. That's well documented in Generation Kill. Um, so those guys moved north so fast that once we got that air base set up, we were supposed to go back to Germany and reconstitute, and we were supposed to start Baghdad air base. Um, they got there faster than we could even get off ground. And dude, I don't think I was in Iraq for more than like 60 days, dude. It was fast because since they started Baghdad, like we didn't have another air base to go start, and they were like, all right, I guess go home. So, dude, it was quick, but dude, 60 days in the ground offensive, I feel like that's enough. It just felt
It so both sides of it, right? You're listening at home, you're like, oh, 60 days. But all right, let's break it down. No, 60 days of 24 hours a day. Like doing crazy stupid shit. Like, yeah, you're sleeping, but you're not really asleep. You're like stressed out that you got to get up and do fire guard, or you're like you wake up and the place stinks, and you're like, oh my god, I'm still here. Oh, it's only been 6 hours. We've only been in the country 6 hours, and I'm already miserable. And you don't know when it's going to end, right? Because you got halfway, and you didn't know it was halfway. It just was once it was over. So I mean, probably at day 50, you didn't even know you were almost done. So
no. Well, dude, and I can tell you the war planning was lacking because we would have pallets of like M16s come in and nobody was there to receive them. Or we would have POWs come in and they'd be like, where do we put these? We moved the POW encampment, north. Um, it was just like every day was just trying to figure out what the next emergency was going to be. Or somebody that was like, oh, you know what I should do is drive my truck where they're landing planes in the middle of the night. And they'd be like, Morgan, run out there in that dirt that you don't like. Dude, I got pictures of like unexploded ordnance that we had dropped there that like we were just walking around like it was normal day. And they were like, Morgan, go out there. And I'm like, dude, I don't know if I really want to walk in that area that nobody's cleared. Like, but hey, whatever. If I die, I die. At least I don't have to wear mop gear in the casket.
yeah, right. Um, that's one thing I sometimes bring up because I try not to get into these conversations with people. But if somebody's like, you know, the government needs to do X, right? And I'll go, listen, the government is only good at one thing, and that's fucking killing people and like going to war. And we don't even do that very well. They definitely can't do whatever the fuck you're talking about correctly. I fucking guarantee you they fucking can't do it. So, because if that's the only thing they're good at, the only thing the United States has ever been good at is fucking killing people, whether it's our citizens or everybody else's citizens and going to war. We can't really do that fully correctly at all levels. We sure as hell can't fucking regulate the food in the United States or healthcare or something like that, unless it's to kill people. Like we can,
We can give you
So
red dye 4, whatever that is. Yeah, we're good at that.
yeah, but that's I mean, that's kind of like conspiracy theories and all this. I go, there ain't nobody in the regular army keeping a secret. Like it's not fucking happening. If one private knows about something, he's out on Friday telling it to the stripper in town for sure to try and impress her. So there's no secrets in the military.
No,
Um,
dude, and it's a Chinese stripper,
yeah.
guaranteed.
So yeah, interesting. What are you thinking during this time? Because it's probably like go, 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 but did you ever stop and go, what the fuck is going on here?
Dude, I mean, every day. Because if you've ever been in a combat zone, you realize it's 99% abject boredom. It just it just is, right? You're waiting to do something, or you're sitting there like on patrol, or you're like, you know, stopping cars from running into jets. Um, and I remember thinking like, is this it? Like, is this really like I did the training and I've been on active duty, I think, for like a year plus at that point. Like, is this it? Like, is this the coolest it's ever gonna be? Because it's not that cool. Um, you know, you get to wear it as like a little badge of honor. I was in Iraq during the ground offensive. I wore mop gear. I could fart in your face, you wouldn't smell it. You're like, yeah, dude. I mean, I got a shirt that says that so that people can thank me for my service. But at the same time, like, it wasn't that cool, right? Like, I don't even know how to explain it, except that like every expectation that I had of how awesome it would be, it did not even scratch the surface of it. Because I'll give you another example. We had I think it was the 82nd Airborne, or it might have been the 101st. They came in on C-17s, and we had this old bombed out hangar right next to us. We'd been in country for, I don't know, like a week and a half or something, and these guys were coming in, and dude, they took over that hangar in force. Dude, they were putting their little sticks out for artillery and mortar and shit. Like, they were coming into this base, and it was their base as far as they were concerned. And all I could think was, you guys are laying down in like where I've been shitting for the last week. Like, I literally just pooped over there. Like, you guys could have just walked over here and been like, hey Morgan, where are you pooping so we can avoid it? But they didn't. They didn't care. So they get on ground. It's nighttime, and I'm sitting there smoking a cigarette. And this little PFC walks over and is like, hey, man, can I get a light? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever, dude. So I give him a light, and this sergeant major fucking comes storming over. And dude, I don't even know what a sergeant major is. In the Air Force, everybody uses first names. So he comes over and is like, who are you? And I was like, well, I'm Morgan. Who the fuck are you? And he's like, oh, I'm Sergeant Major. And I was like, cool. He's like, you shouldn't be smoking here. Who are you with? And I was like, I'm with the Air Force. And he's like, oh, okay. And I was like, dude, by the way, we've been here for over a week. There's no snipers. Like, you don't have to sweat it. And he's like, oh, yeah, you shouldn't be doing that. There's, you know, there's danger everywhere. And I was like, well, okay, not here, but whatever. That PFC was fucking frozen, dude. And when I joined the army, I kind of started to understand it. But he was just sitting there frozen. The sergeant major walks off, and the guy's like, hey, thanks for the light, throws a cigarette down, takes off. And then literally the next day, before the 82nd Airborne went out, they took a Humvee and tried to run it over this hill and got the Humvee stuck and blew out the engine. And I was just like, I got a picture of it, because why the fuck not? It, it was just, when you watch those war movies and you see how it's like this well-oiled machine, and these people are like, dude, it was just the exact opposite
It was
of
like down
everything that I
Periscope.
thought was going to happen. What's that?
It was more like down Periscope.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was it was like Catch 22. I hadn't read that yet, but yeah, it was like this confederacy of dunces, insane.
Um, yeah, I never got to go to combat. And back to your point earlier, right, of calling the plumber. Like, I think about it all the time. Like, and especially the years I was in, I just never got to go. So I don't have any point of reference, and I have a pretty hard line. I try not to offer too much of my opinion. I'm just trying to understand why. But of the stuff I do know about, I got to selection, and I thought it was going to be go, 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 go. It was just like, right, we were kind of sitting around a lot, you know. We do an event, and then we're sitting around, and we go to class, and then you're just trying not to fall asleep. And then you get to the Q course, and it's you got class, and you're just trying to navigate the class. But there's so much downtime in the military, that it's not fun. It can be just a job. It's just shitty and a great job both at the same time, but it's not how you think it's going to be. Now, you're an E4 in the Air Force. I'm sure that you know SF guys or the SEALs that are running things, they probably got a quite a different story, which you learned about more once you became a contractor. But and we'll get into that here. But so you rotate out of Iraq and come back. How much time did you have? Did you stay activated after that?
Yeah, I stayed activated until I think August 2003. Um, and then once we got deactivated, they still were activating us all the time, which is kind of odd. Like I got deactivated. I did a semester of college, and then they said, "Hey, we need people that'll come back on active duty for our local base." So I did that for like 3 months, and then I jumped on a deployment down to Curacao, which is part of the ABC Islands. It's like Aruba. I don't know what the fuck the B is, but C is Curacao. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Stayed in a hotel. Um, 3 days on, 1 day off. So I got my scuba certification. Like it was just a good gig. And they gave us a shit ton of per diem there too. And there was a casino downstairs. Like it was spectacular. Um, but it was also like me and two of my buddies. They were both Force Recon Marines. They're down there, and I was sitting there drinking at the bar because I had the day off. I think I might not have. Who knows? Um, my buddy Rick comes over and is like, "Dude, let's go scuba diving." And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So we're scuba diving, and I finally look at the whatever altimeter thing, and it's like we're at 100 feet below the surface, which you're not supposed to go to if you don't have like super specific
Nitrox,
oxygen.
yeah.
But we stole all the shit out of the scuba, the little scuba cabin that they had, so we didn't know what we had. So I look at him and I'm like, we got to start going up. We slowly make our way up, and I'm like 10 feet underneath the water, and my oxygen finally dies. So I pop to the surface, and I am like, dude, my head is fucked. I'm like, oh my God, dude, I got the bins. I'm so fucked. Like, I'm going to die. And then after I got out of the water, I was like, oh no, I'm just still drunk. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, I'm still wasted. So I went to the bar and had a few more beers and went back to bed. And look, I told you at the beginning of this, I don't put a lot of thought into stuff before I do it. I just do it.
No, what popped into my head is like you're just good at telling the story how it is, right? There's a lot of people that kind of skip over the shenanigans part of being a junior enlisted guy in the military, and it's all just the high points, and not the fucking jerking around part of things, and like not getting caught or not getting in trouble and things like that. Of there's that part of the service too. So it's just interesting to hear you talk about it. Huh.
Yeah, dude, I'm like the poster child of getting away with stuff just barely by the skin of my teeth, man. But after Curacao, went back home. I was deactivated, and then I got into the community college. I was taking some summer classes, and this is where the Blackwater saga starts, dude, because this would have been March '04, and the Blackwater guys had just got hanged off the bridge in Fallujah. And nobody knew what Blackwater was. Nobody knew what civilians were doing in Iraq. Nobody knew about private military contracting. All they knew is that there was like the next Black Hawk Down had just happened. We had U.S. citizens being dragged through the streets in Fallujah and being hanged off a bridge, and that was unfucking sad. Um, so my buddy that's the recon marine is like, I'm gonna go work for Blackwater, and I was like, dude, have fun. Like that sounds like a great way to die. And he's like, you should do it. It's like, dude, I'm not cool like you, right? I'm just the Air Force Security Forces. And he's like, when I get in, I'll get you in. And dude, I thought nothing of it. He went to Moyock, North Carolina, and dude, it's not like you had a resume back then and you posted it on Indeed or whatever. It was literally word of mouth. There was 500 slots available for this new Department of State contract. Um, and when he walked in, they said, "Hey, do you guys know anybody else who might want to do this thing?" And he said, "Call Morgan." I got a call at like, dude, it was like 5 a.m. I'm dead asleep. And this guy's like, "Hey, I got to make up a different name. I'm James from Blackwater." And I was like, "Oh, hey, cool. What's going on, man?" And he's like, "Your buddy Tony said that you were good in the pocket. You want to come work for Blackwater?" And I was like, "Not really." And he's like, $550 a day. We'll pay you $250 a day every day you're out here training. If you make it, 550 a day or $500 a day in Iraq, and then a 10% bonus when you complete your contract. And I was like, fuck it, sign me up, dude. Like, that's just how it went.
And I can't get a fucking anything right now, like nothing. And then back, but we're at war, so to speak, back then, and nobody knows like when it's going to be over. So they're just trying to get it in while they can. Little do they know it's going to go on for one for a decade, the other for 2 decades. So for some definition point, so what is Blackwater and what do they do?
All right, so I actually got to start a little earlier because what happened was Blackwater protected Paul Bremer, which was the head of the Coalition Provisional Authority. That was the government of Iraq after we invaded and we took over. Now, if you remember at the time, George W. Bush was like, "We're not invaders. We're not invaders. We're not going to stay there." So the political thing was we got to get the Iraqi government stood up and we got to hand this over to the Iraqi government. Now, everybody in the Iraqi government was a Ba'ath Party member. Saddam Hussein, all the Ba'ath Party guys, they're gone. So we got rid of that entire government. Anybody that knew how to do anything from cleaning up garbage to running a stock exchange to landing planes, gone. Those guys are all gone. And then we say, "Okay, Iraqi government, now you guys own this place. We will help you out as much as we can." But it's a diplomatic mission now. It's no longer a military mission, diplomatic. Now, these diplomats from the State Department, from the CIA, the NSA, you name it, every government agency, do not have people that can protect them in a combat zone. They're not trained. They just don't have the people. So Blackwater comes in and says, "Hey, you need somebody to protect those guys. We'll do this." So Blackwater bid on a contract, approximately 500 dudes on this contract, and then once you get that RFP, the request for
Proposal.
pussy, I don't know. I'm just making stuff. Yeah. Um, Once they got that RFP, they had to fill it. And that's where my buddy got in, and that's where he ended up getting me in. So Blackwater was really like the start of protecting US government agencies over in a combat zone.
They're in there. So that's how it starts. That's how you get your foot in the door.
That's how it starts. Now, look, this is not abnormal. Walmart during Christmas brings in contractors, right? When you
Target,
have a need,
Amazon,
yeah,
everybody. Yeah.
when you have a need, the fastest way to fill it is to set out a contract, get people, have them do their job. And dude, I always looked at it like it was temporary, like you were saying. Like, this is only going to last for so long. I may as well go get my cheddar while I can. Plus, like I said earlier, the ground offensive was a disappointment. So let me go get some adventure. I'm 23 years old. My buddy Tony, literally before he left Blackwater, said, we were drunk. There's a recurring thing. Um, he's like, "Do you want to be the old guy sitting on your front porch that has really cool stories? Or do you want to be the guy that has like a whole bunch of money?" And I was like, "Well, I kind of want to be both." And then Blackwater hit and I could. Like that was just kind of like, I just lucked out. Right place, right time. I was like the guy that gave a hand job to Steve Jobs before he started Apple. I don't know. I just lucked out. So
Interesting analogy.
yeah. Um, so that's really how Blackwater started. Now, the other stuff, the DoD contracts, the CIA contracts, all that other stuff, those were all kind of happening on the back end that Blackwater was supporting. But the vast majority of us were, Uber drivers for fucking diplomats to go into Baghdad and meet people, teach them how to run a country. And dude, we went to the Iraqi stock exchange. You know it's fucking good when somebody says, "Hey, we got to rotate people in and out because you got to see this shit," right? So I'm sitting out at the vehicle, like doing, setting up perimeter security, and my buddy's like, "You got to go in there and check." So he takes my spot. I go in there. It's chalkboards, and it has Iraqis with chalk, and this is their stock exchange, and it looks like 1930s horse racing, dude. It's like Seabiscuit, and they're just like they're going through and taking investments, and they're putting different things on this chalkboard. Like when I say that Iraq had no idea of how to run its government, it had less than no idea. These people didn't know what Excel spreadsheets were. They didn't know how to set schedules. They didn't know how to sell oil on the open market. Like nothing. There was no ability for them to transition from the Saddam regime to a new government without us literally holding their hands.
Well, it's not a transition. They eliminated the government and then they just put in people that didn't know how to do it. Like there was no transition. It's just you're out. Okay, you're in. Well, I didn't know I was going to be in. Well, yeah, you're here now, so you better figure it out.
Get this piece
Um,
of chalk, write
yeah,
those squiggly little letters on it, and now we have a stock exchange.
and that's and just think of what's going on in the rest of the country, right? That's not like okay, the government has collapsed, and you're out in the village, and you can't see any of that. There's no news really, or what you're getting's days old, and now the guy you went to when your power doesn't work, well, he's gone, so now you just don't have power. And well, what the fuck do we do now? And that's just one case of that's going on all over the country. Because if
Yeah.
they're using chalk at the stock exchange in the capital, what do you think's going on in the rest of the country?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Oof.
little wonder that they didn't riot earlier, to be honest with you. Like, dude, I mean, look, I'll give it to Saddam Hussein, and I'm not saying he's not a dick, but he kept the country running and he kept people in check. Um, as soon as we went in there and we took that stability out, we were fucked. Because, all right, history lesson time. When Iraq was created after World War II, what it was is it was three different sects of people, right? You got the Kurdish that were up north, you got the Sunnis that were to the west, and then the Shias own everything else. Now, the fault lines for all this is where is the oil? So, Saddam Hussein, what he did really well is he was like, I'm going to make sure that we got control of all this oil. So, the Kurds up north, there's a big oil well called the Northern Oil Company in Kirkuk. And he's like, those Kurds got to be north of that because I got to own it. And the Sunnis, they need to be pushed west. That's why you have the Sunni triangle. So they don't have any oil either. Or no, I'm fucking this up because he was Sunni. Anyway, he controlled the oil. Now, as soon as he left, the majority of Iraq is Shia. So when they voted, it was a Shia controlled government. The Shia controlled government, I hate to say this, but dude, all they wanted was fucking revenge. That's all they wanted. So in '04, when we handed it over, that's when you had the Shia kill squads that were going into Baghdad. They were pulling people out of their houses that were Sunnis, fucking shooting them. All the Sunnis had to move west to the Sunni triangle because this was happening. And at the same time, you had the Sunnis that used to be in charge that are all pissed off because now they're not making a paycheck. So what are they going to do? They're going to bide their time and they're going to fuck shit up. And who are you going to fuck up? You're going to fuck up the U.S. military. So '04, '05, man, that was like the car bomb, the EFP. Like it just, that's when everything took off. It just hit this crescendo and this breaking point of frustration with one group of people, the Shia saying, I want revenge. The Sunni saying, I want to have power back. And the Kurds up north being like, just tell us when to go in. We'll fuck everybody up. We want this oil. So that's what I fell into in Blackwater, July, August 2004.
Did you know about any of that? The layout of the different groups or any of that, or were you just there and pieced it all together later? Did you have any idea why any of this was happening?
No, I didn't care either, to be completely honest with you. Like at the end of the day, I figured all this stuff out as I got to travel around and be like, oh, hey, the Kurds are literally saying there was genocide up here. How'd that happen? Um, but at the time, it was just like, get this guy from point A to point B and try not to die. And if a car comes up on you, it's probably a car bomb. You should shoot at that car. Those are my rules of engagement. Like literally, those were the rules of engagement.
And there's no uniform code of military justice, right? You're operating outside of the law completely.
So this is where when you posted that story, this is where the mercenary thing comes in. Um, because technically we're contractors for the State Department, and then Blackwater, and then we're independent contractors. So we are not under the UCMJ. We are not under the State Department. We are not under really anything at all, as far as I could tell. Now, it turns out later we're still under the jurisdiction of the FBI. But they really had to they had to find what that was later when they had the Nister Square incident in 2007. Um, so when you don't have a chain of command, you don't have the UCMJ, you don't have those rules of engagement, it just kind of becomes a free for all. And I wasn't over there for the patriotic duty. A lot of the Blackwater guys, like I was saying earlier, will sit there and say, we weren't mercenaries. We were over there. We were patriots. And I was like, motherfucker, dude, you were over there at $550 a day, and that E3 was there at $20,000 a year. Don't sit here and tell me that you didn't go over there for the money. So, um, I don't know where I was going with that. I just wanted to get it out.
Mercenary part is where you were going with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, I thought it was a short term gig. I was there for the cash grab. I'll be 100% honest with you. The adventure was like a nice little cherry on top, but I was there for the cash grab. And anybody that says that they weren't there for the cash grab is full of shit. And you can sit there and say contractor, mercenary. I don't care what you call it. At the end of the day, if you went over there so blind as to say that I was there for patriotic duty, I think you're fucking lying to yourself. Like, look in the mirror, bro.
Yeah. I can also see that somebody who was smart enough and a psychopath would be like, I can go over there and I could fucking kill people and there's no repercussions for it and get
Yeah, we
paid.
had those dudes. Yeah.
Okay.
So let me go back to my plumber analogy, bro.
We're here.
Everybody that joined Blackwater, like almost none of them had combat experience. You have this entire generation of people, essentially from Vietnam to, I mean, besides Panama and Black Hawk Down in Somalia and Desert Storm a little bit, like you didn't have a whole lot of combat vets. So these guys go in, they spend 4, 6, 8, 12 years in the military. They're Navy SEALs, they're Army Rangers, they're SF dudes, and they never got a chance to fix the toilet. They never got their chance to go in and actually use the skills that they wanted. So when Blackwater popped up, that was the other draw. Yeah, you're there for the money, but at the same time, like I have trained to do this. I want to go out there and I want to do it. I want to test my mettle. And Blackwater allowed a lot of those dudes to do it. And dude, I mean, I felt the same way. I was at the ground offensive in Iraq, and I was like, "Is this it?" Blackwater, I was like, "Oh yeah, no, this is the adventure part." Yeah, I'm getting that.
Yeah. I can definitely sympathize with that because if that type of opportunity would have popped up in the first 6 years of after me getting out, uh, I would have jumped at the chance. I would have taken it probably well over 100%. Uh, but one of those just did pop up a few months ago. Who wants to go to? If you have a soft identifier, who wants to go to Gaza? And I went, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do that. And there's dudes over there doing that job. I'm sure they're having a great time. Nope. Uh, there's no air support coming for you to save you in that case. But at least you guys had, or at least you thought you had, the full backing of the United States military as support, or were you guys supporting yourselves?
Dude, we were supporting ourselves. Like this is when you come from a military paradigm. Let me tell you the positive first. Big boy rules. Nobody's checking your water. Nobody's making sure you got your ammo load. Nobody's babysitting you. You don't have to sit there for 4 hours before a convoy just for a convoy to roll out of the gate at 4 miles per hour and be an IED magnet. None of that crap. On the backside of it, there was no Blue Force tracker, which is kind of how you track your coalition partners on the battlefield. There was no integration with the military tactical operations command. We had zero support except for these two, well, we had three little birds that would fly over and help you out if you needed to. But once we left Baghdad, no radio comms, no nothing, dude. It was just us. And I talk about it in the book, but we had a convoy that was going towards Ramadi, and it got hit by an EFP, and they had no way to contact anybody. Right, you're not on the same frequencies as the military, so you can't contact them anyway. You don't have the same radio loads. They had a sat phone; they couldn't get that thing working. There was no one to help them out. So they ended up disabling the vehicle that got hit, and then they drove, found some Marines underneath a bridge outside of Ramadi, got drove into Ramadi, or escorted into the actual base at Ramadi, and one of our Blackwater guys died. So that's the downside. You're making all this money and it feels great, but at the same time, Big Army's not there to help you. Like they're, if anything, we would conflict with Big Army at any given moment. I was driving just north of the green zone. I was getting ready to take a right, and God, this was early because they had the Humvee and it had like the truck bed in the back with a little stand and 240 Bravo on it. There's like this, PFC specialist in the back, and we're trying to get around him because, hey, you see us, we're Suburbans. Who else is driving a Suburban here, man? It's not a big deal. Pointed our VS17 panel, which for the listeners is just like a neon orange panel that you put on the top of your windshield so that people, theoretically, planes can see this and not bomb you. And we're like, hey, we're going to go around. And this guy takes his 240 Bravo and just goes, points it right at the vehicle. And I was like, all right, bro, you win. You win. Like, but stuff like that happened all the time. There was no coordination. There was no, like, at least in Baghdad, you had all these small little fobs. And if something happened, you could try to limp your way in. At the same time, we were coming out on Route Irish, going towards the airport, and we had this old guy behind me, and dude, he smashed into my truck so hard, my Suburban, and disabled his vehicle. We got out, we set up security, my butthole's puckered up, like so tight that you couldn't stick a BB in there. And you got to go in and grab the tow straps, put them on the vehicle, and then tow it back in. Big Army, thankfully at this time, was like pretty close, and they stopped all the traffic on Route Irish so that we could get everything hooked up and go in. And I got to hang out on the side of a Humvee as we drove in through the green zone. I felt all awesome, all hopped up on steroids and shit, like I was a real warrior. But they were there, they would help, but at the same time, like, we didn't help ourselves. We didn't coordinate. We didn't give a shit.
I'm listening to this and just realizing more and more that this is something I don't know anything about. And I'm trying to I ask myself, I'm like, why don't I know any of this? And then so this is all happening. I'm in like fucking high school. So I'm not learning about it then. I got other shit on my mind. And then I graduate and go right into the trades, and then the market collapses, and then I get in the bars, and then I go to basic training, and my whole focus for 8 years was to be a Green Beret. So I'm going through my timeline. I'm like, at no point did I ever investigate any of this, like Blackwater or anything other than contractors, Wild West, a couple taglines here and there. So I'm trying to think of like stuff. So that's, you know,
Well, that's why I wrote the
what
book.
did, yeah, right. Well, my book budget is fucking really low right now. Like, so I'm sorry. I was buying books, and the book fund dried up, but it's on the list of books I have to buy. Um, what did the military think of you guys when you did have interactions with them? What were those like?
Dude, we hated each other, to be
Good,
completely
good.
honest with you. Like the military did not like us. We did not like the military. They gave us Blue Force trackers sometime in late '04, and these were early days, dude. These were not like the ones where you get to look on a screen and shit. These were the ones where, and
Like
I got
Pong.
this thing. It was literally, it looked like this, dude, except it didn't say that. And there were buttons on it. There was 4 buttons. So you would push a button when you leave, and then it would track you theoretically, and you push a button when you got there. And then when you left there, you push that button, and then when you got to your next spot, you push another button, and then when you got RTB, return to base, you push the first button again. We couldn't figure these things out. We're not that smart, dude. It's not that hard in hindsight. But the other thing we didn't want to do is we didn't want them to know where we were. I didn't want to be tracked. Because if you were tracking us, then you could track the absolute havoc that we were putting on the people of Baghdad at any given moment. Right. So go back to that mission statement. Get important person from point A to point B, come back alive. That's it. We did that violently. Like they gave us 2 Humvees. We put up armor on them. We would smash through traffic, like quite literally smash through traffic. You go on YouTube and you type in Blackwater, you can see everything. I'm in half of those videos. I'm like the back gunner behind the driver in those videos. Um, we ran roughshod over Baghdad. And if you could track us, you could see, hey, you know what? They smashed that car on the elevated highway and it flew off the elevated highway and that guy probably died. We didn't want that. So we didn't use any of that shit. We didn't call anything in. We didn't tell you when we were leaving. Um, Eric Prince's big thing is always like, we only shot 50 rounds the entire time we were there. Bullshit, dude. I put more than 50 rounds down. I guarantee it. But if you didn't tell anybody, back to your cop thing, your MP, you didn't have to write a report. And you didn't have to have somebody up in the State Department read this report and say, well, why'd you do that? Because he wasn't on ground with you. I don't want this guy to sit there and judge my shoot, whether it's a good shoot or a bad shoot, whether that car was coming at me fast enough to where I had to engage it or not. So when I say we didn't play nice, it's because we didn't want to play nice. And dude, the Army didn't want to play nice with us either. Dude, I talk about it in the story, but you had so much brass in the green zone and so many agencies and all of them wanting to take credit when things went good and wanting to shift credit when things went bad. They never talked to each other either, right? The NSA didn't talk to the CIA, DIA. The military units didn't actually talk to each other. That's just how war goes. So I was walking in and it was nighttime and who knows, dude, the Iraqis won a soccer game or some shit. And they're like shooting up into the air. And you can hear all these shots and you can see the tracers. And you know that if it's a tracer, there's 4 bullets, and then the one you actually see is the fifth. And dude, they were just lighting up the sky. But it was '05, dude. I'd been there for the better part of a year. I was like a salty dog, and I'm walking into the U.S. Embassy, and this major is sitting there with all of his body armor on. He's got his K-pot on, and he's like, "Man, this is crazy." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Well, they're shooting at us, and we're just like standing here." And I just started fucking laughing at him. I was like, you gotta be shitting me. They're shooting at us. And like, he thought that he was witnessing war, like he was watching TV and he was in the shit. And I was just walking without body armor on. I had my Glock and my Safari land drop leg holster. I walked in, dude, I just started laughing in his fucking face. And dude, I did this to a lot of, it's just like majors, lieutenant colonels. I didn't give a fuck. Like we had a major that was briefing his guys. They were supporting us. I think it was the 101st. They were supporting us for Iraqi elections, and this major comes over and they're having like their pre-brief at the convoy, and like, yeah, the Blackwater guy is going to be in the front. He's going to tell us where to drive. That was me. And then he starts getting into this diatribe of like, just remember that everybody that you piss off is another enemy that you made, and we're here to make it. Dude, I just laughed in his face in front of his fucking soldiers, and I walked off. Like, we hated each other. There was good reason to hate each other. Plus, I was an E4 dude, and I was telling like these Fulbright colonels to go fuck themselves, and it felt great. I think I made E5 by then.
How how do you feel about these interactions looking back?
Fuck them, dude. They were over there losing the shit out of war, telling everybody how great it was, and that actually makes me more mad. I wish I would have taunted them a lot more than I actually did, because when I watch the news or when you go in and I was an Army officer after this, and we'll probably get into it, but I would go in there and Nobody has the balls to go up to their command, their lieutenant colonel, their colonel, brigade, battalion commanders, and say, we're fucking this thing up. And the only thing you get to hear when you make, battalion commander hire is the good news. Oh, the battalion commander's coming. Make sure that your desk is clean. Make sure that when he comes over, like your uniforms are pressed. Like those guys don't see the war for what it actually is. And I don't think they want to for the most part, because anybody could sit there in 2004, 2005 and say, if we're winning the shit out of this thing, why are we still getting mortared every morning like the goddamn rooster crows? If we're winning this thing, then why did we just lose 5 people up in Solder City? Like they didn't have the balls to look in the mirror. And you know what? They probably didn't give a crap about me laughing in their face. But at the same time, like somebody needed to sit there and say, you guys fucking suck at war.
Do you think they knew it and that's just how it is kind of when you get to a certain leadership. Like if you want to make your next rank, well, you gotta do some good shit, right? You can't be coming up with bad bullets for your OER, or for your senior raider, right? And you knew from being an officer, right? You're not going to get promoted unless you're doing great work, right?
Yeah, well, dude, I think it's a self-flicking ice cream cone, right? Like at the end of the day, nobody gave us kudos because we got Ambassador Khalilzad from here to the Ministry of Interior. We didn't care. We were getting paid, right? Um, a lot of those career military guys, and dude, it's on both sides. Dude, when you make E8, unless you're in like the special operations stuff, you don't get the full view of what's actually happening. And even when you're trying to walk the line, you can't tell everybody 48 hours ahead of time so they can clean their desks and shit. So I think that there's a lot of that. Um, I'm doing my time in the officer corps. They'd say, "Oh, after you get done with your deployment, you get to take a knee." And I think that's where a lot of those officers were looking at it. Like, I'm going to do my deployment time. That's going to help me get to that next rank. And then I get to go take a knee after this. And everybody was looking for their redeployment date instead of looking at it holistically and saying, this is not good. Dude, and we'll get into it later, but when I got on ground in Iraq as a first lieutenant, there was a full bird colonel. Literally the day I got to Cop Cash, there was a full bird colonel watching um, a video feed from an EOD robot. And the robot was going up and he's trying to get to this bomb and figure out what it is, what it looks like. And the colonel is sitting there, full bird colonel is sitting there going, "Hey, can you move the robot to the left? I can't see it very good. Can you move the screen can you, like, dude, micromanaging the war all the way down to literally like the E3, E4 level, and then not stepping back and looking at what you're doing and how it's actually affecting the war effort." And dude, that was like a microcosm of, I think, what was happening in Iraq for over a decade.
Hmm. It's an interesting perspective that you're able to see this with, right? Because when you're in the ranks, you can't because you're part of the rank structure. Up everything goes up or down the chain of command. So, but at certain points of your career, it sounds like you were able to have that 30,000-foot view, or at least once you saw that 30,000-foot view, you were able to maintain, from your perspective, that view of how things were working. Does that sound correct?
Oh, it's 100% correct. Like, when I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but like when you
You
talk
can
about
toot
the
your horn all
war,
you want. I'm not going to toot anything for you. Yeah,
I don't know why I did double fist right there. I
that just says
apologize.
a lot about your personality.
Dude, I went over there as an E4 during the ground offensive. I saw how that worked. And then I literally got to be at the highest ranks of Iraq, like meeting the president of Iraq, having breakfast with the president of Iraq, who was Talibani up in Lake Dokan. Um, Sitting in some of these meetings where you have high ranking diplomats, high ranking military officers, like generals and above, and being the E4 E5 dude perspective of that and looking at it and being like, what in the flying hell is going on? So I was there in 03, 04, 05. I went back in 9 and 10. And the perspective of the war, like just Blackwater just flipped the entire paradigm because I realized pretty quick that let me tell you, this is my theory of a deployment cycle. The first 3 months you get there, you want to help. You really want to help these people. Dude, I'm doing the job I was trained for. This is really awesome. Month 3 through 6, you're good at what you do. Right? It takes you some time to get good. And then months 6 through 9, you're like, oh, it turns out these guys don't give a fuck about their country. Why am I here? Somewhere in that 3 to 9 or 6 to 9 month mark, you're like you get jaded. And then 9 to 12, you're just trying to get on a plane and get the fuck out of there. So being with Blackwater and being able to get past that natural cycle of like a 1 year deployment and being able to listen to how a diplomat is promoting something that is really important to them, but not important to the war effort, in my opinion. Oh my God, we got to get toilets in your. I'll tell that story in a second, but oh, we have to get toilets in here, or we have to make sure that you guys are getting your payment through this place, not that place, or oh, you guys want to make plastic bags. Here's $7 million. Go make plastic bags, and then looking at it from like an E4 perspective, where I'm like, dude, that guy in Ramadi is getting shot at, and you guys are worried about this guy fucking manufacturing plastic bags. There was no congruence, man. So when I went back as a military officer, I was so jaded. I told my soldiers, I was like, dude, we're there for a year. This is your deployment cycle. All of them, literally, almost all of them came up to me later and said, you hit it. Like, I thought you were full of shit, sir. And you nailed it. Like 6 through 9, I was like, damn it, he was right.
You really spoiled my next point too, because I was like, you didn't want to become that jaded MP, and here you are, jaded as fuck, ragged at the edges, um, and you took the long way to get there. You could have just stayed on base and written people tickets and become jaded, but instead you had to travel the world and most of Iraq. I have to. So could you feel yourself just, um, I don't know, the level of cynic or the amount you were becoming jaded just rise over time, because now all of your 2000s is committed to Iraq and whatever the fuck we were doing over there. Could you just feel yourself changing?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I talk about it in the book. Like when I get over there and I'm like, hey, I'm here to help. I'm going to help the diplomats go learn the stock market. And then, dude, you feel really good when we're driving around and you see these kids with like little ink on their fingers because they got to vote and stuff. Um, I mean, this is completely off topic, but it never occurred to me that there's no like central registration for voting, right? You grow up in the United States, you're like, I get a driver's license, dude, they don't have any of that shit. So when they go and they vote, then they dip their finger in ink so that they can't come in and vote again. That's their entire registration for being able to vote. So, dude, I got there in '04 and they have that election, and you're driving around and people are all smiling. They're putting their finger up. It looks like they just got done itching their butthole after eating blueberries. And then this little kid is like waving at us. He's like 8, 9 years old. And I was like, oh man, this makes me feel real good. And then 4 months later, we were driving kind of in the same area and same age kid, 8, 9 years old. And instead of like waving and being all happy, he was like acting like he had a pump action shotgun and being like he was shooting at us. And it was at that exact moment where I was like, oh, we're never gonna fucking win this thing. And I felt myself get more and more frustrated as time went on, to the point that like I'll give you an example of it. Like this is where I knew I was an asshole. It was probably March 2005. I'm driving in the QRF. I'm the gunner right behind the driver of the Humvee. I got my face and my head outside the window. I got my M4. I got my sweet Seymour sight, and I'm just kind of like scanning the area. There's this white car in Baghdad. White car, dude. No such thing as a white car. You see white and orange cars. All of them have dirt on it. This car is immaculate, dude. It is immaculate. It has just been washed. Somebody took a sponge to this thing and got every nook and cranny. It is that nice. and we're going around this traffic circle, and I see this car, and I'm thinking, holy crap, I've never seen a car that looks that nice. He doesn't get out of our way. We smash into the back of it, dude. As we're driving past, I can see into his trunk. I can see the carpet in his trunk. It was a Kia. I can see this. And I felt so bad. I felt so terrible for this guy, like in my heart. And as we got past the driver and the passenger, they gave me this look, like this shocked look. Oh, and all I could do was move my rifle outside of that window a little further and say, next time, get out of our fucking way. And we drove off. And like, I knew right then and there, I was like, dude, you can call it PTSD, you can call it stress, you can call it anxiety, you can call it whatever the hell you want. But at the end of the day, like everything had culminated to that one moment where I was like, I don't have any regard for essentially any Iraqi human life at this point. Now, granted, we had like 7 Blackwater guys die in April, so maybe it was a little bit past that. I don't remember, but um, dude, I just got to a point that I fucking hated those people.
You said the word winning, and that was when later when you went in your third iteration there, right? But what did winning look like for your first 2 trips there? Like as a enlisted Air Force guy, what did winning look like? And did winning look as a Blackwater contractor? Did it just look like getting to tomorrow?
Yeah, dude, winning as like a junior enlisted guy during the ground offensive was whatever somebody told me. We were totally winning that shit, right? Um, so Jessica Lynch got rescued at Talil Air Base or in Nasiriyah, got flown into Talil Air Base. I didn't even know about this until after I got home. I just remember we had little birds show up, and then SF guys. There was a guy that had like he had an anchor tattoo, so we knew he was a SEAL, and he had long hair. Um, but winning was like winning was whatever they told us, and dude, we were going there and we were freeing the shit out of them. With Blackwater, winning was whatever the paycheck would come in. That was it, dude. I didn't give a shit. Like, that's why I say I was a mercenary. You guys can call yourself contractors all day. Winning was me making my next paycheck, because I knew at that point, having been in enough of the meetings, that the only way for this nation state to move forward was them having to figure out their own manifest destiny. Um, and I'd be remiss to say that that's how I recognized it at the time, but I did recognize, hey, we're not ever going to be able to do anything throwing money at this problem. We need to get the fuck out of here. It's almost like when you have 2 kids and they're arguing over a balloon and you take away the balloon and then they're both pissed off at you. Like, that's what we were the ones that were taking away the balloon. When you could just leave the balloon and say, hey, you 2 punch each other in the face, and then whoever gets the balloon gets the balloon. One might be crying, and the other one's like, fuck, I got the balloon. Like, that's what we needed to do. We needed to do that in 04, 05, 06. When I went back as an officer, there was no winning. I knew it was, dude, I knew it was a lost cause. It was done. We we had already said we're going to leave. Um, the combat troops were packing up their stuff and getting ready to drive out of Kuwait. We can sit there and say, "Oh, we left it in a better place." Did we? Did we really? So at that point, it really was just having me and my soldiers be able to do the job that we were there to do, which is target terrorists using signal intelligence and human intelligence, and then get to the end of my deployment, and that was winning. Is just live through this thing.
That's rough, man. To like, I guess one more on that one. Did you see any changes in the population during that? Because you went the whole decade, kind of beginning, middle, and end. Did you see anything that we were saying we were trying to do there actually happen?
No, I hate to be that blunt, but so when I got there in '03, it was the Wild West. When I got there in '04, it was still the Wild West. But by the time I left in '05, we had gotten ourselves in such a defensive position around these large bases and controlling the roads, right? Route Tampa going south and north. You had Route Irish. We had literally like soldiers posted at every bridge. And then we still slowly started transitioning those to where the Iraqi army was taking over these positions. So you saw the defensive posture really increase. And then, Petraeus came in and was like, we got to be among the people and we're going to give these guys jobs. The problem with that is that you give these guys jobs and you're having them sweep out an army base when they used to literally run the Ministry of Oil, right? These guys were not going to be happy about any of that stuff. By the time I got there in '09, um, we were dude, I was at these tiny fobs. I those guys at the big fobs, when they'd send candy and shit, they'd rat fuck all of our candy and then be like, hey guys, who wants the tropical fruit? The Jolly Ranchers. And we're like, yeah, thanks guys. We're out here actually doing stuff and you guys are eating all the cherry and the apple ones. Give me the tropical fruit, assholes.
I'm sensing some bitterness.
Yeah, well, because I think like '09 really solidified it that people were there in these large bases to essentially punch their ticket to the next rank or to the next unit or to the next something. Like the guys that were actually doing stuff on the ground, um, like we were eating disgusting food and it sucked. And dude, I had this Ugandan lady that was in the chew right next to me that would piss in a red bucket and then throw it out her door the next morning. Like it was just gross. Uh, and then we walk into the chow hall at the fob, I don't know, Camp Liberty or something by the airport, and everybody's saluting everybody, and like their BDUs or ACUs looked all nice, and like it was almost like how the Soviet Union turned into socialism, right? Like it was like the bourgeoisie and the proletariats. Like I felt like a proletariat um, when you walk into these bases, and like there's just like that frustration with it. Like, yeah, I know you came out and you saw us on the fob like 4 months ago, but literally every day you're eating fresh mango and going to the Coffee Bean and the Pizza Hut, and I'm eating the same piece of fucking fried chicken because they won't cook regular eggs, and I feel disgusting.
Well, that's where the jaded comes in, then, right?
It's the chicken.
So
No,
it's
dude. I mean, because by the time I would send up a report, like we would target terrorists. We ended up hitting a guy that was, I think it was number 4 on the top 10 list. Um, and dude, this is how you can always tell somebody's a turd. And I'm gonna say it. We supported special forces. So if somebody comes up and it's like, I supported special forces, that means you were a turd. I was a turd. I was an intel turd. So we got this guy, and then I would send stuff up to my company commander. He would take me and the other 5 multifunctional intel team guys, put that in one slide, and then it would go up to the battalion commander, and he would take all of his commanders, all 4 of them, put that on one slide, send it up to brigade, and brigade would get this nice, rosy, beautiful PowerPoint of how great we were doing on the ground, instead of me being like, hey, by the way, it sucks living here and it's miserable, and you guys are asking me to do bicycle safety training when I don't have any bicycles on this fob. Like, can you guys knock this shit off? But that never made it into the PowerPoint. What made it into the PowerPoint is we hit the number 4 guy with the SF team. Not Morgan's pissed off because you want him to wear a PT belt on a fob that nobody fucking could even find on a map if they needed to.
it's important to be safe, sir. Uh, um, and that safety belt could save your life.
Dude, I'm not joking. Like we didn't have very good internet, especially on the Sipper side, right? And they sent us this bicycle safety training class that we had to do because somebody at a big base didn't have a PT belt on when they got hit by a car on this big fob. So the general said everybody needs to do bicycle awareness training. And I called my company commander and said, dude, I don't have any bikes. And he said, doesn't matter. And I was like, I don't even have internet to be able to download these videos where a guy's like riding along on a bike at like Fort Hood and he's got his PT belt on and he looks really safe. I don't have the bandwidth for that. And he'd be like, just keep hitting enter until it gets through for all your dudes. Like that's what they were worried about. That's what general officers were worried about instead of worrying about like what was happening on the ground.
So we've gone astray, is what you're saying at this point. We've lost the plot.
I think we lost the plot somewhere in '07 or so, if we had one to begin with.
So back to Blackwater. So you finished up your trip with them. How come you chose not to continue working for them?
Oh, I got fired twice. Yeah, I did. I got fired twice. So here's the beauty of Blackwater and every other PMC. Nobody tracks you at the member level, right? Nobody tracks who Morgan is. The State Department doesn't give a crap about Morgan. In fact, because you're a contractor, they can hire and fire you literally on the spot. Doesn't matter. We had a guy get fired for, taking a leak on a wall, and a State Department guy walked past. He got fired. He had to be out. Um, in the same vein as that, when Blackwater guys died, nobody gave a shit. It didn't make the news. The State Department guys would have like a little memorial service. All of us Blackwater guys would show up and be like, dude, if I fucking die, don't let them talk shit about me. Don't have them even say a thing. Just throw my carcass in the river. That's where I'm at. If you were a Blackwater guy and you died over in Iraq, you didn't get sent home the way a soldier does, where they put the casket in the plane and you're the first one that is going to leave the airport, because you're not tier one cargo. You are back there with the trash and all the other shit. So we had a contractor die. He couldn't get off the ground for 10 days. Couldn't get back to his family for 10 days. A former military guy, Blackwater contractor, highly decorated war veteran, couldn't get home until his wife finally called the senator and said, "Why the fuck is my husband still sitting in a morgue in Baghdad?" Right? So so we were the expendables. Dude, the guys in Gaza, they're the expendables. That's the life that you lead. Um, Damn it, I forgot the question because I segued. Sorry, hit me again with it.
I was
Oh,
just sorry.
why'd I leave? Why'd I
Yeah,
leave?
why'd you
Okay.
leave? Yeah.
Okay. So the first time I
So
got
it's just
fired, we were on the QRF, and I was in the lead vehicle behind the driver, and we hit a bongo truck, dude. I don't know what bongo trucks are made out of. And for the people that don't know what this is, it's like a cattle truck that's got really tiny wheels. There's like 6 or 8 of them. I don't even know. And it's made out of solid steel. There's like a cab in the front, and then it's just like a truck bed in the back. And it's what everybody uses overseas. And we hit this thing, and it must have been made of fucking kryptonite, dude. It bent the frame of our Humvee. It, dude, my back still hurts from that. Like, I hit the ceiling, and my gunner almost flew out. I had to grab his little tiny hairless legs because he was Mexican. He didn't have much hair. Um, yeah,
glad you pointed that out.
yeah. So I got a hold of his little hairless legs, and then, dude, you could just hear the radiator fan hitting something. So we take it to KBR. KBR is like, we can get this fixed, dude. We're like DOA for a day, 2 days. I go back there and I'm like, what's up? And they're like, dude, you bent the frame. It's fucked. We're gonna have to get you a new Humvee. Oh, well, cool. If you're gonna get me a new Humvee, I'm gonna take all this up armor that we stole from the army, because you can get anything you want. I had a buddy that was driving a Suburban that had a fucking AT4 in the back. I don't know how he got it. Dude, we had 50 cals. We had whatever you wanted, because you could go to an army base with a little bit of the old devil's cough syrup, Jack Daniels, and say, hey, bro, I need some up armor. And they'd be like, it's over there. Give me the booze. So we had all this up armor that we traded for booze. And I started taking it off of the Humvee. And this Kellogg Brown and Root guy came over and was like, you're stealing all the stuff off of my Humvee. And I was like, whoa, bro. Like, it's not on your books. I swear to God. Like, we went and we stole this from somebody else. Don't worry. And he's like, no, you're not. Absolutely not taking this stuff off. So, dude, literally on the spot, they fired us. Now, I'll give this to Blackwater. 4 of us got fired. Blackwater goes, hey, we want to actually have an investigation because we're pretty sure that like we got this stuff on our own. So KBR goes through and says, oh yeah, none of this stuff is on the books. You're right. Uh, and then the State Department said, nah, fire those fuckers anyway. So that's the first time I got fired. They sent me up to Kirkuk, and I was up there. They made me a team leader, and somebody said, hey, isn't that Morgan guy? Isn't that the guy we fired from Baghdad? Because look, dude, there's not a lot of dudes that work for Blackwater with a girl name like me. So they spotted me because I was on the team leader board, and they demoted me from being a team leader down to just being a TC again, tactical commander. Which I got a little butthurt about it, dude. I'm not gonna lie to you. but if you think about it in practicality, I'm an Air Force Security Forces guy. I'm the salty Blackwater veteran, and I'm running a team full of Navy SEALs, SF, recon Marines, you name it, dude, like the best of the best. And I'm the Air Force Security Forces guy. So maybe I shouldn't have been so butthurt. I was a little butthurt. Um, so when I was up in Kirkuk, my little going away party, we all got wasted and I went and beat the shit out of the U.S. Embassy bathroom because that mirror, the guy that was looking at me in the mirror looked like he was hankering for a fight. So, but it was over Christmas. So like the State Department guys always left for Christmas. So I got my $3,000 bonus. They sent me down to Baghdad, got to Jordan. My contract was done. And they were like, just call us in a few months. We'll bring you back in. And it was at that point that I just realized like this is turning into a career, not a get your cheddar and run gig. So there was a few times where I would like almost got pulled back in, but at that point I was like, look, I have enough money. I'm going to go finish my college degree and see where that takes us. And that took me to the Army ROTC somehow. Still not sure how that went.
Yeah, but you're only 24 years old at this point, right?
25. I hit 24 and 25 in Baghdad. So yeah.
So it's not like, it's not like you're winding down your career. You're still a teenager, basically.
I mean, I'm still a teenager now.
Now,
You've
yeah.
listened to me.
I mean, we're 2 hours into it. So, but man, but you've done a lot of shit. So, at the beginning I said, why has this become such a part of who you are now? Like that's a lot of shit. Like you're doing crazy things all over like, with no supervision, and then you have the wherewithal. You're like, maybe I should go do something else. Maybe it's time to go do something else. So you get back home, and your degree. So you want to finish your degree. Everybody's like, I'm going to finish my degree. What kind of degree are we talking about here?
Oh, fuck, dude. Okay.
On underwater basket weaving or
Criminal justice. I told you I didn't want to be a cop.
okay, so
Um,
I'm sensing a theme here.
yeah, dude. So I looked at college and was like, what is the fastest way out? Right. So the boomers went and got their degree and they would tell everybody in my generation, Generation X, go get your degree and then the world opens up. So it didn't matter what your degree was in, right? Dude, 1,000 baby boomers got degrees in sociology and fucking psychology and shit, and they did okay, right? Because it was such an anomaly to have a 4-year degree, but it wasn't by the time I got there, and I didn't know it, but I looked at it, was like, if I switch degree paths, I'm going to be in college for the next 3 years, but if I stick with criminal justice, then I can be out of here in like 2 years. And I was like, yeah, 2 years sounds way better. So I walked into the Army ROTC. That was my first mistake. But I wanted to fly helicopters. I thought it would be really rad to fly helicopters. I got to fly in the Little Birds. I got to fly in Blackhawks. Dude, when you lift off in a helicopter, it's like when you start the roller coaster ride, right? Like it's fucking rad. And I was like, that would be a rad job. So I walked in there and said, hey, I want to fly helicopters. And then, they checked on my grades and stuff. Um, and they were taking any mouth breather, so it didn't matter. And I signed my contract and they were like, okay, so you want to fly helicopters. That is a 1.5 year train up and then a 6-year contract after your train up. So you're looking at 7.5 years. And I was like, I don't want to fly helicopters that fucking bad. I don't want to do it. Not for 7.5 years. Because I knew I was not going to like the Army. You don't go from Blackwater into the Army and be like, ooh, this is really what I wanted to do. So I ended up going Intel after that, and that's how I became, you know, I supported special forces. That's how I did that.
Okay. War.
Are you sensing
So
the whole
you
thing? Like I never have a real plan. I just kind of go with
no,
it.
I know I'm way ahead of you, man. I had no plan on how I do anything. Like somebody messaged me like, "How'd you get into podcasting?" I'm like, "I just woke up and I just started the podcast one day with no experience, no software, no friends. I can keep going." But did you? how did you get commissioned then? Did you go to basic and then, well, you'd already done basic, so did you just go to OCS?
No, so with the ROTC,
You would do it through the university.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, yeah.
yeah. So I did the ROTC, which is funny, dude. I felt like looking back, I kind of feel bad. So the ROTC is run like the Army is run. The the freshmen are being taught by the sophomores are being taught by the juniors being taught by the seniors. And all of our seniors, none of them got the jobs they wanted because it's based off of an order of merit list, right? If you're in the top 10%, you get whatever you want. And all these guys were not in the top 10%. None of them got the jobs they wanted, but they all had to pretend like they were excited about it. Like, oh, I got
What
field
university?
artillery.
What
I'm not
university
talking
are we
shit.
talking about?
Northern Arizona University.
So not known for its ROTC program.
No, it was definitely not VMI, but we had all these seniors and we had four prior enlisted guys, all with combat experience, show up literally in the same semester. So you got the Blackwater guy, you got like a former MP, you had a former Army Ranger. I don't even know who the fucking last one was. Oh, he was a former infantry guy. And dude, the seniors would come in and be like, okay, here's how you do it. And we'd be like, fuck off. You dick, dude. Yeah.
Real professional for good order and discipline.
Yeah.
That's probably real good for to show in the next generation. It popped into my head earlier. I wonder how some of the people that encountered you along the way would tell the story from their point of view on interactions with you. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah. So I'll tell you exactly what it is because my buddy told me how he introduces me to people. Morgan's a dick, but he'll give you the shirt off of his back if you ask for it. So hopefully that's what they think is like, yeah, Morgan was a real dick, and he'll tell you exactly what he's thinking, but he'll also help you out.
Unless you drive a white Kia in Baghdad, Iraq.
Or you're a major. Fuck that
Yeah.
rank, dude. That's got to be the worst rank in the world.
I mean, it depends on what your branch is, right?
Dude, either
So,
way, you're going to be an executive officer at a battalion somewhere. I remember, dude, there was this, when I was in Iraq, there was this guy who was long tabbed, right? He had his Ranger, his SF tab, all the other shit. And he was a battalion XO at an infantry unit. And we were sitting in a meeting, and dude, he had the same look on his face as I had on mine. So, of course, we connected really quick. And he's like, yeah, what's your deal? Like, you're different. So I was like, yeah, I was a Blackwater dude. And he's like, yeah, I'm doing my staff shit, trying to get back to the teams.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's I feel for the officers sometimes, but they know what they're getting into. There's plenty of information out there, but it's a long career path. You get 18 months of team time, and then you might become major, and then you get 18 months to 2 years of company command time, and the rest is fucking whatever
oh,
the Army wants to do with you out there. You
yeah.
know, a lot of dudes will give up their commission and go warrant. Like they one dude told me that when you retire, you still retire as an O3
Yeah.
when you go warrant. I was like, that's pretty badass.
Yeah. So you can make 04 as long as you're in that rank for 2 years. That's the rank that you retire at, even if you go back to warrant.
That's a fucking cheat code right there.
Yeah.
So you get commissioned, and now we're regular Army now, which is not ideal, but you're supporting special forces or soft units, which
Which made me feel like a bigger
I think
turd.
is so cool. Like, I mean, you got to work with SF guys. What's it like?
In the ROTC, everything is based on your grade point average. This is what they don't tell you when you join. So I had like a 4.0 grade point average. So like when you ask like what Blackwater changed, when I got back to the US, I was so competitive because you're hanging out with all these dudes that are hyper competitive. And when I got into college, it was the same thing. Like somebody got a better grade than me one of the first tests, and I was livid, dude. I was fucking pissed. And dude, I just slaughtered everybody after that. So 4.0 GPA, they send you to like this little camp up at Fort Lewis. I don't even remember what they call it, but we called it camp. And like I aced that. I got an E. I got an excellent. So I was like I think top 4% of all cadets. So I got to choose my job, and then I commissioned, and they sent me to Fort Sill. And I swear to God,
Oh,
dude, I got to Fort Sill, and within the first week, I was like, how do I resign my commission and get the fuck out? Like, I, the amount of just bullshit that I ran face first into, like, I was not ready for that. I was not ready to go back to like, you know, you're an O1 and you don't know anything. Like, dude, that like you want to talk about eating crow? I ate so much fucking crow, dude. It was painful. And Fort Sill's a dump.
why were you at Sill?
So you know how the Marine Corps says like every Marine is a rifleman. So all their OCS guys go through like essentially infantry training, and then the Army tried to create something like that, except they did a really bad job at it. They called it Basic Officer Leadership Course 2, and it was at Fort Sill or is at Fort Benning, and they were going and trying to teach all officers of all branches how to be like an infantryman, and it was like the dumbest
Fort
thing.
Sill?
Yeah, at Fort Sill, or yeah, and I was like, dude, I am so fed up with this. Within
What
two
year is
weeks, I was
this?
like, dude, I'm gonna quit. This was '08, February '08 is when I hit Sill, so the weather was perfect.
No, it's not. In case if you're listening at home, for my tens of listeners, uh, I went to basic and AIT at Fort Sill, and then I got stationed there. It is the worst. It's the fucking worst place. One of the worst places in all of the military. There's probably there's some contenders, but
Polk,
it's my
I
least
think
favorite
Polk
place.
wins, but
Yeah, they changed the name. I don't know if they changed it back yet, so I don't even know where it is now. But um, yeah, I can't like infantry tactics at Fort Sill. Like where? Like where the fuck would you even like? What did they have? Tell me more. I want to know more about this fucked up program because I already hate Fort Sill so bad, and any more reason to dislike it more, I'm all about it.
I just remember, dude, they had like this little fob, and you do fob operations. And when you drove past it, you drove past Geronimo's grave. Is really the only thing I
Okay.
remember about like where it was on the base. Um, but yeah, like you come in, you do land nav, you do all that other like basic stuff. We had this one girl. This is how I knew I was making friends. We had this one girl that could not shoot, and we had ACOGs. And I was like, dude, when did like regular armies start getting optics? Like this is rad. So I get done shooting, and she can't zero. So, and dude, it's cold. It's like that freezing rain is starting to come down. It's February. And there's all these enlisted guys that are like, "Oh, I'll show you how to do it. I'll show you how to do it." And I was like, "Dude, I used to train people how to shoot. Maybe I can help her out." So I lay down right next to her, and I'm like, "Okay, this is how you do it. Like, you see that little dot? Put that thing where you want to fucking the bullet to hit." And dude, I was very calm and very nice about this whole thing. And she still couldn't zero, dude. I mean, couldn't zero at 25 meters. And I finally just got up and was like, fuck this. And they're like, what happened? And I was like, we got goddamn Helen Keller down here that can't fucking figure out how to zero a weapon, and I'm fucking freezing over here. Fuck this. And everybody was like, oh, that officer's mean.
That's not
So
very nice.
yeah, so no, dude, Fort Sill, that was, I mean, they had Prairie Dog Park. That was kind of fun. You could go out there and drink that near beer. This was back in the near beer days, so I don't know if they changed that, but you could only get beer at 3% alcohol. And then,
3.2%
yeah,
alcohol was the highest beer you could get while I was there too in 11 and 12, I think, and then I PCSed in 13. Yeah, you can go out to Scooters on Thursday. Any coin would get you a beer at Scooters from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m.
I do remember
And then
Scooters.
you do? Yeah,
Yeah.
the guys would roll in there with a whole roll of pennies, and they would cover the round tables with pennies, and the waitress would just come and swipe off however many and set like 12 beers on there, and then the next morning it was guaranteed at PT that people would still be out drinking, and they would just show up to PT just smelling like piss and beer.
Dude,
But
I mean, I drank my liver into submission there. But we went out one night, closed the bar down. I'm pretty sure it was Scooters. Closed the bar down. I went back into the dorm, which you talk about living in a dorm, like dude, that was painful. And I was like knocking on people's door trying to get more alcohol, like pretty much blacked out drunk. So the next morning at PT, they line us all up, dude, and I'm like, oh, dude, I'm barely functioning. And my buddy is like, hold, just stand right here, man. And they say, oh, if you go give blood, you guys can skip PT. So my buddy like goes over there, signs me in, and they say reason for not giving blood, and he put HIV positive on it. So somewhere I am HIV positive on a blood donation thing, and I can't give blood ever again.
that's really strange. So,
He
um,
saved my bacon, bro.
you say, you get to Fort Sill and you're like, "Ooh, I made a huge mistake," or at least that's what I'm sensing so
Oh
far. You're
yeah.
like, I fucked up. So you're kind of trying to drown your sorrows. Where do you go from here then? Or do you just, you're still looking for ways to be done or what?
No, I mean I finally kind of resigned myself, dude. And I had orders to Korea. Like I was not a happy camper, dude. Um,
Why are you
and I
putting
finally just
yourself
kind of
through
resigned.
this though? Did you just think it was going to be different after Blackwater? Did you think you were going to have a good time doing this, starting back over at private again?
Dude, I thought somewhere in my head, when I was going through the ranks of enlisted, right? You hit E5 and you think I can make a difference. Maybe not a big difference, but I can help my soldiers. And then you get to E5 and you're like, nah, I really can't do shit anyway. So I thought, as an officer, you can actually, you know, have a voice at the table. So I thought it was going to be a little bit more big boy rules than it was. That was my fault. Um, but at some point, I just kind of resigned myself to being like, dude, it's only 3 years. Because I was prior enlisted. I didn't take an ROTC contract. I used my GI Bill. It was literally only 3 years, dude. I can do anything for 3 years. It's not that big of a deal. And then I ended up getting my orders switched from Korea to Fort Lewis. And I was like, there's at least a light at the end of the tunnel. Like Korea, they say if you go to Korea and you don't have a drinking problem, you will. And if you do have a drinking problem, you'll be a full blown alcoholic. Like that's what I was looking forward to. So the whole time, dude, I was just trying to figure out how the fuck do I get out of Korea. And I was told when I got to like Intel school, and it did happen, but you get to Intel school and they'll start recruiting people to go into like the Rangers and shit, right? But they want you to have your PL time, and to get your platoon leader time, where do they send you? They send you to the place where you only have a 1 year like stint. They send you to Korea for your PL time, and then you can go into Ranger Battalion and all the others. So, dude, I mean, I just kind of resigned myself to like, what the fuck else am I gonna do with a criminal justice degree? I'm gonna go home and not become a cop, like go work at fucking Home Depot. Like, come on.
So you go to Lewis and you get assigned to the MI battalion there. What do you do? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they were ready for me, dude. I'll be honest with you.
why do you say that?
Because they weren't ready for me.
For you, the person you, or this incoming soldier you?
No, so they started this brigade. It was called the Battlefield Surveillance Brigade, the 201st Battlefield Surveillance Brigade, and the intent was you send an entire intel brigade over to Iraq or Afghanistan, and they support stuff on the ground. So instead of having like a human intelligence team that's like attached to somebody, you have an entire brigade and you can spread those out. And then you have a centralized location to be able to push all your intel up, signal, human, CI, all that.
Brigade?
Yeah.
That's like that's 4,000 people.
That's what you think. But an intelligence brigade is only like 800.
Oh, okay. So it's a
Because
battalion.
there was only two battalions underneath it. 2.5, right? Because you got like a support brigade and all that other stuff, or the support battalion. Um, but yeah, that was their intent. Now look, dude, it didn't work out very good. I don't even think BFSBs are a thing anymore. Um, but I got to Lewis. I'll tell you what I did when I got to Lewis. I fucking went on a run, bare chested, looking good as fuck, dude. And I ran right down to the Special Forces compound because I just saw it out as I was running. And I walked in and said, I don't want to be in fucking Intel. I don't fucking like Intel people. How do I get in? And they said, you have to wait until you're a first lieutenant and then you can put in the paperwork. And I was like, yeah, no, I get that. Like, I get what you're saying. What I'm saying is I'm ready right fucking now. Like, I will go. And they were like, that's not how the army works. And I was like, that sucks a dick. So that was my hope is I was going to get to Lewis and be able to like, dude, if there's a shortcut in life, I'm going to fucking find it. Right.
Yeah, that's the wrong generation. You were let's see, that's 7, so you needed to go back 25 years, 26 years before the selection, and then you could do on-job training. So you were just a little late. You
Yeah.
were a little late to the party, and that's fine.
It wasn't going to stop me from trying, dude.
No, I mean, yeah, you can ask, and there's weirder ways to get over to group.
I was
So
like, dude,
yeah,
I'm prior enlisted. I worked at Blackwater, dude. I'll fucking do it. Like, pull your pants down. Let's do this. Didn't work, dude.
interesting proposition.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you're resigned to the fact that now you're an officer in the United States Army and you're in an intelligence brigade doing something. I'm sure it was a good idea at some time. Got somebody promoted to general. What are you actually doing?
Dude, actually pretty cool shit, to be honest with you. Because I got there when it was first standing up and I got to jump into all the soldier training, which was pretty rad, right? Like I did the interrogation classes, I did the SIG and terminal guidance stuff, tracking cell phones. I did anything I could, just for shits and giggles to go and learn stuff. But I finally got my platoon or my team, which consists of like 13 dudes, and those poor bastards, dude, they definitely weren't ready for me because we I kind of feel bad now. All these guys join military intelligence thinking it's going to be like the easy life. And then they get me as a platoon leader. And I PT'd the shit out of those guys. Because I was like, look, if we're going to be supporting infantry guys or anybody else, like we're going to let them know that we're part of the crew. So we did our initial train up. Then they sent me to Fort Polk in June of fucking 2009. And when all the infantry guys were not working out, I had my intel guys out there fucking running this little flight line and doing push-ups and sit-ups and shit. And it's June, it's Polk, dude. It sucks, dude. It was like Fort Polk is the fucking anus of the United States. Like there's wild pigs there. It's hot. It's humid. It's disgusting.
I like how you led with wild pigs, not like anything about the place. Just there's wild pigs, man. There's fucking pigs.
That are like 800 pounds. Like, dude, you can't tell me that you can't figure out how to keep pigs off of a base. Like it just, dude, it's like being transported into time and then you're in like Game of Thrones or some shit. It's fucking terrible. It's disgusting. Nobody gets to bathe. Even if you bathe, I don't know. Anyway,
For
so
those
I'm like,
listening at home, wild pigs. Just fucking keep
just
that in
wild
your
pig.
mind. Wild pigs, man. It's so bad. There's pigs running around it.
They're just randomly. You're sitting there like in the back of a deuce and a half, and you look over and there's like a 900-pound pig that's running next to you, and you're like, what the? Where the fuck am I? Um, so so we trained up, did our stint at Fort Polk, and got sent over to Cop Cache in Iraq, which is where Saddam Hussein had his nuclear reactor. You can look it up. It's called like Operation Yellow Cake. The Israelis bombed this new nuclear reactor, and then they decided to put a little base on it. And I would run to the top of these big, huge berms and point my penis towards the nuclear area just to see if I could make sure I wouldn't have kids later. Like that was my entire goal. Now, granted, we were also doing intel, finding IEDs, doing a bunch of human intelligence and stuff. But dude, it was almost like going back to the ground offensive. Like it just wasn't that fucking cool, man. Like Like it was fun. The one thing I will say, being prior enlisted, I had a company commander that was prior enlisted. That was just like, Morgan, just you're gonna figure shit out. Just go fucking figure shit out. So, dude, I did not have the chain of command that was bothering me every day for status reports and all this other bullshit. But we did get a combat action badge because we got mortared once, and the infantry unit was like, everybody gets a CIB. So we got our combat action badge. Which, dude, I got the big sticker on my car, so everybody knows. I'm just
Good.
no, not really. That's a lie.
I would hope it's the whole rear window.
So I can't even fucking see out.
So you can't even see out. You got to let everybody know what you're working with and that you're better than them.
Yeah. Yeah. So, dude, the one thing I did at Cop Cash is I rescued a dog from Iraq because when I was there with Blackwater, I felt fucking terrible for the dogs. Like, you see the way these people treat dogs. And I was like, dude, they didn't do anything to you. So I rescued a dog. And honestly, that's the best thing that's come out of Iraq is that I actually rescued a dog. And she was fucking terrible. She was a terrible dog. Um, and I remember I was telling somebody like, hey, I'm going to rescue this dog. And this other platoon leader's like, God, I wish I could just send some of these, some of my Iraqi counterparts back to the America. And I was like, fuck them. Rescue a dog. She was, yeah. So, um, I did Cop Cash for a while, and then it started getting to the point where they were like, hey, Morgan, you're an officer. You got to do your key development time. And I was like, you don't even have to worry about it. I'm getting the fuck out. I fucking hate the Army. Like, this is miserable for me every day. And they were like, what do you mean? So, dude, they took every lieutenant, flew us into Baghdad to do key development training to figure out what our career path looked like. And they told us to write a line on this sheet of paper, and the front is where we are. And then, halfway through that, you put like major, and then I don't know. They were trying to figure out what our career path was going to look like. And I literally drew a line, put where I was, and then went over an inch, drew another line, and said, Morgan gets the fuck out of the Army. And they were pissed, dude. They were pissed that I was not going to be in the career field that they had chosen. Like, it was like a slight on these people that I fucking hated the Army and I was going to get out. So, once they figured out that I was serious, I wasn't going to stay in. They were like, hey, just send him to, there was an underperforming team at JSS Justice. Send him up there, have him unfuck this team. So they sent me to JSS Justice where Saddam Hussein got hanged, which is kind of cool, except when I was at Blackwater in the Regime Crimes Liaison Office, I was driving to JSS Justice and making $550 a day. And now I was at JSS Justice eating disgusting fucking food, not making $550 a day, and watching the contractors drive through the gate. And I was like, where the fuck did I go wrong? What happened? Um, so, dude, I mean, it wasn't bad. I'll tell you, like, we did support special forces guys. They went out. We had a team rotate in, and this guy, I don't know, their team leader was like, hey man, have you dropped a selection packet? And I was like, no, I'm getting out. And he's like, no, just drop a selection packet. Like, we'll drag you in. I think they were from Carson. They're like, we will literally like tell our battalion commander, like, once he gets through, come over. We want this guy. And I was like, I'm getting the fuck out. Like, there's no there. I've already done my cool guy shit. Like, I think that's the point where I was like 20, 29. And I was like, dude, I've done my cool guy shit. Like, I'm over this because there's so much bullshit to get to the cool guy shit that I don't want any part of it, man.
Yeah, that would have been 2 to 3 more years of trying to make it and then possibly not making it also, had you done that. Because you got to go to selection, then you got to get selected, then you got to do the whole Q course. Um, it brought back to seeing the contractors going in and out of the gate when you're back over there. What's going through your mind with seeing that going, that could be me, but instead I'm an idiot.
Well, it's funny because there's this whole paradigm shift as an Army officer where they came in through the front gate, and my immediate reaction was, I didn't know they were coming. Why the fuck are they here? Like, what would have happened if something happened on like all those things went through my head in like a split second, and then I went, Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I get it. Come on. Come on to our chow hall. We don't give a shit. Um, so it was like this weird, almost like growing up process where I was like, I get why the military does some of the stuff that it does, but I also remember being the guy that was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna go pop into this fob. They're gonna let me in. I'm gonna go get some food and then we'll go somewhere else. It was very, I mean, it was humbling to a certain extent, but by that point, I had kind of figured out that I was going to get out and I was going to go to graduate school. Um, I'll tell you, I'll tell you a couple things that are good about the officer corps. One is it's not that it's good about the officer corps; it's that the enlisted people do it so fucking bad. When you get in and you're an E1, E2, everybody says, figure that shit out. Oh, I was an E1. Oh, figure that shit out. That's all they do. Oh, we're going to go run a range. Figure that shit out. Officers don't do that, dude. Officers come in and say, oh, hey, we have an SOP over here, or you can do this, or like they try to help each other out. So I bring that up because when I was getting out, there was a few officers that were like, hey, if you're going to get out, you should go to graduate school. And I was like, I'm going to go to Northern Arizona University and I'm going to get my master's of social work. And they were like, fuck you. What are you doing? Like, you should be going to the Harvards, the Tufts, the Columbia Universities, Georgetowns. And I was like, I don't even know what the fuck those things are. So I actually listened to some of those dudes and was like, if I'm going to get out, I'm going to go to a graduate school. It's going to have enough name recognition to where I can kind of write my ticket to go wherever I want after that. Which was the CIA. That was my plan. Is I'm gonna go work for the CIA, and I had CIA contacts. Being like an intel guy, I knew some CIA dudes over in Baghdad, so I was like, "That's what I'm gonna do." Um, the other thing the officer corps doesn't do very good is they don't actually prepare you for getting out, and it's not their fault because all these guys are career military, and they're trying to explain to you what to do when you get out, and they have no clue. They're just making shit up. But that doesn't mean they're not going to try to give you good advice. So, my brigade commander, when I said I was getting out, got on a call with me and was like, "Hey, we really want to keep you in." Dude, I was a highly ranked lieutenant, even though I had a fucking big mouth on me. He's like, "I'll send you to Ranger School," and I was like, "That's that's your sales pitch. Hey, Morgan, you can go fucking suffer in Ranger School. That's your pitch." And he's like, "Yeah, I'll get you to Ranger School as soon as." And I was like, "No way, bro." And I had already applied to some of these graduate schools. I got into some of like the really like U Chicago. I got into Tufts. I got into Northwestern. Um, and I was like, "Bro, I'm out. I gotta fucking go." And I wrote this diatribe of why I was getting out and how like there was no meritocracy in the military and the officer corps because you get promoted based off of your rank. Dude, dude, I'm a rebel without a cause. I get it. Um, but at the same time, like I I was able to take the right advice from some of the right people at the right time to kind of be able to transition out.
It sounds like you're, yeah. Did you get everything out of the military that you wanted to, at least? When you went in, you're like, I'm going to be an officer. Did you get what you wanted out of it, or did it just make you reinforce more that, um, you, this isn't the place for me, kind of,
Dude,
and I need
yeah, full on reinforcement, dude.
just so
Yeah.
you, do you think that was the wrong decision to
No.
go in? No, okay.
No. No, it was absolutely the right decision because when I got in December '07, the economy tanked.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody listening remembers that, but yeah,
Yeah. So,
that's why I'm here today. Military. I would still be building houses. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the economy tanked. I knew that with a criminal justice degree, I was going to have to become a cop or I was going to have to, like, it was a segue. It was like a life segue. And looking back on it, I remember this Air Force guy asked me when I was at grad school, like, what'd you like about the Army? And I was like, fucking nothing. And he was shocked. He was appalled that I would say that. But I mean, I got one really good friend out of it. He's very successful. Um, it does put you into like this little group, this little sect of people, like Oh, you were like a military officer, and it I don't know. It's very weird, but I'm glad I did it just because it got me to like that next step of life, going to Tufts University, getting an international banking and finance degree, like got me my first job out of the army. Like it worked out, but it still sucked a fat dick.
Do you think it gave more credibility to your accomplishments than just the title of contractor for Blackwater? Like it kind of, put that top line of the resume on there.
It did because Blackwater shot up Nisser Square in 2007, and that pretty much made it to where I wasn't even putting Blackwater on my resume.
Okay. Yeah, shooting. All right. Yeah. So hang on. Let me
Yeah,
make a note of that. Shooting up this bad. All right.
bad for Morgan's resume. Um, so that definitely helped when I was looking at going into the CIA, and I was like kind of dealing with that process. They were like, actually, your Blackwater stuff will help, right? Because you got to go all the way from coolest thing about Blackwater is I got to travel, right? I could go all the way up to the Iranian border, Halabja, Sulaymaniyah, Erbil, down to Al Hilla. Like I knew that country like the back of my hand. Um, so for the CIA, they're like, hey, like that's actually a good thing, but nobody else was like, you know what we need? This guy that's making our fucking French fries, he used to work for Blackwater.
Just put the fries in the bag, bro. All right. So we do all that, and now we're some semblance of a life post combat arms. Where does the book come in?
Dude, I kept telling these people these stories about Blackwater, and they'd be like, "That is fucking insane." Like, like we've touched on a few of them, but it, like, people don't realize what Blackwater did, and they don't understand like the whole "you don't have the rules." So I started writing the book just, kind of like Tucker Max, where I was just writing stories that I thought were funny. Um, and then I sent it off to a dude that's friends with a former Army officer that I know that writes for Hollywood. And he's like, this is good. Like, this shit is actually good. And I was like, whoa, if he says it's good. So I took those stories, turned it into a book. And the intent is to sell it to Hollywood and fucking retire. But since
Still?
that hasn't happened,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Um, I want the reader to sit there and look at the good shit and the bad shit. And dude, I put the bad shit in there. I'm not a fanboy of fucking Eric Prince and Blackwater. I put the bad shit in there. I put the good shit in there. And at the end of it, the reader can decide, is having civilians in a military combat role capacity ultimately good or bad for modern warfare? And that's what I want. And also kind of humanizing Blackwater to a certain extent, right? I told you about the story about the Kia, but I didn't tell you the story about like, oh, we saved these kids when they started flying out of a fucking BMW and there was a big car accident, or like innocent, happy go lucky, stupid Morgan stuff is kind of like it's almost like watching a transition when somebody goes to war. Um, Also like that thought process. Like, what does it feel like? What did it feel like when I flipped the selector switch from safe to fire and started shooting at that red car? And what did it feel like after? Like it's I've been told it's raw, and I've also been told there's too many poop stories and hooker stories. So like you're getting the real war story. You're not getting this fucking like, oh, we sent third brigade, second battalion over to the left. No, fuck that, dude. I fucking hate those military books.
Yeah, if you're going to have a perspective, um, and you want to see it through somebody else's eyes, it's you do want the full story of it, right? And that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. Like, I did a lot of cool shit, and a lot of my friends did a lot of cool shit. It also has ruined their lives at points, like completely ruined their personal lives at points where they lost their family and all this other shit, right? And all this, there's that whole other side of it. So yeah, you get to do all this cool guy shit, but Yeah, there's this all this other stories that go along with it too. And if you don't have the full picture of it, you're just getting the CNN version of the news, which, as we know, might not be true.
What are you talking about? They kept telling me they were making great progress in Iraq. So here's another story. I'm watching the news and they're like, Iraq is going great. This is like '04. And I had one of those cell phones. I called my aunt Cindy and I was like, hey, how's it going? And she's bitching about milk or something. And at that point, I'm like, I don't give a fuck about milk. But a car bomb blows up. Dude, you could feel it. Car bomb blows up. And Aunt Cindy's like, is everything okay? And I was like, yeah, everything's fine. It's not a big deal. It's just a car bomb. And she's like, I didn't see anything about that on the news. And I was like, oh yeah, there's a disconnect. There's a little tiny disconnect between what actually happened on the ground and what you guys are able to actually see. So, um, it's, I mean, honestly, I'm fascinated by shows like Generation Kill, which I worked with a bunch of those dudes, Blackwater, good dudes. Um, the Pacific, Band of Brothers, like the person that's actually waging the war, I think has a way cooler story than the people that do books about it for the most part. Those are the politicians, those are the generals. I want more junior enlisted guys to write books and be like, yeah, this is how it actually feels in war because war kind of fucking sucks, dude. Like at the end of the day, I'll go back to my plumber analogy. Your mom drops this massive turd on Thanksgiving and clogs her toilet, and
No, it's
you're
your
the
mom.
plumber and you want to go in and you want to fix it. And at the end of the day, that's what you're trained for. The problem is you also get shit all over your hands. You got your mom's turds all over your fingers. And that's
Oh,
what
yeah.
war is, dude.
Was your
Like
uncle's earlier, but
you get to use all that cool shit, but at the same time, like you get shit on your fingers, man. And it's fucking like I talk about some of the guys in Blackwater, like just dropping their 20-year marriages because his wife's like, come home. You can come home whenever you want. And he's like, this is the most money I'm ever going to make. Fuck it. I'm getting divorced. Or like, oh, I love my wife 1,000 times. And then they go and they fuck a bunch of chicks up over in Amsterdam, a bunch of hookers and shit. Like that's real. That is, if you're looking for like, a book that's going to sit there and say, oh my God, this is what Blackwater did, go read Eric Prince's book. Fucking, he'll blow smoke up your ass all day. I'd like, mine is fucking, it's rough.
hmm. Well, now I'm gonna have to read it.
You
And
can get the audiobook. You don't even have to read.
I do. I forget about that, but then I can't put it on my stack here, and I gotta.
I'll
I'll
get you one,
Venmo
bro.
I'll
I'll sign
Venmo
it.
you some money, and I need a sign. That's what I want to do. Is I got to
Yeah.
start messaging people. I want to get signed books and get them up here, but that's the downside of not doing things in person. But plus I can't read. I got really far in life not being able to read. No, you get enough concussions, and you kind of lose the skill to read quickly.
Don't
But
worry.
it's all
It's
right.
at a third grade level.
Oh, it's big print. I've written it for the senior citizen generation. Uh, you get through the book, and you get. Are you happy with where you are now?
Oh, dude, I'm jazzed. Um, like I got sober 15 months ago, 16 months ago.
And me too. I'm at 14.
Oh, nice. Yeah. But dude, like it's just different adventures. All right. Like I've got two young kids. I I would not trade anything that I have right now because I want to watch my kids grow up. And like I was saying, like my dad was fucking kung fu fighting my mom in the kitchen when I was 4 years old and whipping her ass. And then he left. And all I could think of when I had kids was like, dude, he missed out on like some of the like the fun shit, dude. It's not all fun and games, right? You're gonna have blowouts and diapers. You're gonna have, you're gonna have problems. You're gonna get called to the principal's office, especially if you have my genetics. Um, but being able to go out and hang out with my kids is fucking rad, man. Like being able to work and have like that life balance where I can still be able to like watch the Real Housewives of New York with my wife at night. I don't know. I haven't actually watched that, but dude, like,
Interesting that you picked that show.
dude, there's something about like once you've done your cool shit, being able to look back and say, all right, that was fun. I'm glad I did it. Now it's time to be a fucking grown up. And all I think is, dude, if Britney Spears can get through 2004, then I can get through the next 24 hours.
Another interesting reference.
That's all
Very
my dude.
interesting.
That's all I do. That's it. I've run
Yeah.
marathons. I've run an ultra marathon. I fucking like we get to go travel and shit. Like it's I don't know. I feel like here's a somber way to look at it. My buddy was going to a funeral and I was texting him. He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to this funeral." I was like, "Sorry, dude, that sucks." And he texted me back and said, "It's weird. Like guys like you and I got all of our funerals out of the way when we were really young, so they don't hit as hard now that we're older." And I I think that that's kind of the way I look at life right now. Like it's like I got the shitty stuff out of the way. I got the fun stuff out of the way. Now it's just time to like sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah. I relate that to when I have people on here, you're always trying to get to that next level of success. And then you get there and it's not enough. So you're trying to get to the next one, or you're trying to find something that'll make you happy. And every time you accomplish that, you want it again. When in reality, you're just you just need to stop and look around at how the getting there is what's going to make you happy, not arriving. And and so I agree with you. I'm having a lot of fun doing what I'm doing, but fun looks different ways to different people, and I hope everybody can get to that point sometime in their life. But also to get to cool shit. Like I didn't get to do the shit I wanted to, the cool shit, and it fucking bugs me every day. It bugs me less and less as time goes on, but it still does. I didn't get to get my gun on, and that's shitty to say. Like people died, didn't come back, and things like that. So there's a price to pay. So yeah, so
It's
but
her, dude. War is toxic, but it's intoxicating, right?
we're
Like,
very good at the governments. We love to do it. We
yeah.
love to do those sorts of things and invade and pillage and say we're the best and things like that. But
Well, you brought up the Gaza contract. I got a couple of buddies on there that are like, "Hey, yeah, you want to do it?" And I was like, "Fuck no, I absolutely don't want to do that." Like I'm not at that point in my life anymore. Um, but there's that little part of me. There's that little tiny baby part. And I was like,
oh
that would be fun.
well, I clicked on it and then in the group, it was like Gaza, and I started thinking about it. I was like, I don't think anybody's coming for you if you. And then I started reading all the, because everybody in this group's senior to me, lots of experience, and just books of like why this is a terrible idea. It's like, okay, all of these points are good ideas. So yeah, that ship has sailed. Unless World War III kicks off, and then we're all gonna fucking die anyway. So fuck, man. Well, I've got 5 questions that I ask everybody, and then I'll cut you loose. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Yeah, man. All right. What is your response to thank you for your service?
I appreciate it. That's all I say. Dude, I don't know why people want to get butthurt by that. Dude, the vet bro thing drives me crazy. Memorial Day is coming up, and all the vet bros are going to go on there and be like, "You should eat a hot dog, but you should cry at the same time because my buddy died." Shut the fuck up, dude. My buddies died too, and you know what we'd be doing on Memorial Day if they hadn't? They'd be eating motherfucking hot dogs. So drink a beer, enjoy it. Go out there and enjoy that stuff. Same thing with thank you for your service. Just say I appreciate it. You don't have to do that awkward thing where you're like, "Oh well, the army did." Just shut the fuck up. Nobody cares. Just say I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Enjoy your weekend. Just look into it, know why it's there, and have a good time. And don't put other people down or for them trying to show support. What is the one characteristic, since you supported special forces? What is the one characteristic that sets operators apart from the conventional forces?
It's tenacity. It is 100% tenacity. Like you were saying, everybody wants to get to that next level, and then you get to that level, and you say, "Holy shit, I think I can do more." Um, it is, dude. It's the same thing like when I was running marathons, and it is just gutting shit out until you get to the point that you're like, "Holy crap, I finally got to where I wanted to be." All tenacity, man. I
What
heard.
is the
I heard.
one
I supported those guys. That's what I heard. Yeah.
allegedly that's what it is. No. What is the one moment of your career that you wish you could go back and relive or redo, and it wouldn't change where you are now?
Ooh. Um, dude, I honestly don't think like I don't have a big regret by any stretch of the imagination, and I don't have anything where I was like, dude, that was so fucking awesome that I would want to relive it. I honestly don't have one because I don't want to I don't live in the past. Yeah, right. I don't have the Blackwater tattoo. I don't show up at the reunion. I don't do
You
any of
don't
that
have
other
the
shit.
tattoo? Come on.
Yeah, I know, but it I I feel like if I got into that mindset, I would be the guy that's like living either with a regret or with a Uncle Rico. I could have played in the NFL, man. Um, so I honestly don't have one. If I could do one thing over again, um, I would have stopped drinking a hell of a lot sooner because it didn't do anything fucking positive for me.
Well, I feel you there. What is the best piece of advice that you received during your career?
It was my buddy sitting down and saying, "Why the fuck are you going to go to a graduate school and go to some podunk ass state school for graduate school? And if you're going to go to graduate school, go and get something that people desire to actually get a job with." So here's what happens: is a lot of people get a graduate degree and it's in international security or some of that other horse shit. Um, Most companies are not hiring for international security. The only people hiring for criminal justice are police officers. Um, if you if you will take a little bit of advice from me, if you're going to college, either learn a trade because everybody needs an AC repairman, everybody needs their mom to clog a toilet. We know that, or go to engineering, finance. These things run the world, and it is woven into every business on the planet. And if you come out with a degree like that, you're going to get hired as opposed to that psychology degree. I'm glad I took that advice.
Do you use your degree now?
No, but it opened. So here's the thing, dude.
Fucking Christ.
Here's the deal. That degree gets you your first job. Your first job gets you your second job. Your second job gets you your third job. It's all about that first job. This is what I tell people that want to be PMCs. Get your foot in the door. I mean,
And then
it,
and then I'm over here doing the old Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty, going, "School is not a place for smart people, Morty."
I mean, that is true. But dude, if I had to do it over again, I'd be an air conditioning repairman in Las Vegas. You know, you're going to fucking make money, man.
Anywhere, really anywhere, Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, but all right, last one, man. What were you afraid of then, and what are you afraid of now?
Dude, the scariest thing on the planet that doesn't get enough credit is being fucking rocketed and mortared. Now, dude, I got my combat action badge, so I feel fucking awesome about it.
I heard
But
you got the whole back window of your car. Yeah.
yeah, um, because dude, it's indiscriminate. There's nothing you can do about it. You literally are just sitting there waiting for the next round to hit, and you're hoping it's not you. Like that is the most fucking terrifying thing on the planet. And they actually make that whistling sound. I thought that was movie shit. No, they actually whistle when they're close enough. And what am I afraid of now? I'm afraid I'm gonna fuck up being a dad. Like that is scary because, dude, if there are more kids, if one of my kids turns out like I was, I have failed in life. So it is time it is time to show them the right way as opposed to the Morgan doesn't plan anything and oh it's all gonna work out fucking way because it doesn't for most people.
Don't say that, because you spoke about the old man sitting on the porch with either all the stories or all the money. I mean, would you rather have none of the stories or have all the experience and all the stories and be able to pass it on? You know, would
I
you
want
want
both,
that for your
bro.
kids?
I want
Would
both.
you want that for your kids to at least get that experience? Because we're growing up and we think our parents don't know anything, and now we're their age, going, well, shit, our excuses sounded ridiculous. and now that we got some experience in us, so I don't
Dude, the
know.
beautiful thing about being like through the interrogation courses is I can tell when my kids are lying to me like that. Dude, I know all their tells. It's spectacular. Plus, they're like, "Oh, a pony came in here and fucking shit on the floor." You're like, "No, that's a human poop." Anyway, um, no, dude, I think there's a happy medium, right? If my kids wanted to join the military, I would definitely steer them to go become an Air Force officer or Coast Guard or something like that. But at the same time, if my son's like, dude, I want to go join the Marine Corps and I want to shoot shit up, I'd be like, I support the hell out of you. And when you're done doing that fun stuff, I'll be right here to tell you, okay, now this is what you can do next.
So hopefully, I can learn from your experience and move along the way. All right, man. Where can everybody find you on social media and get your book if they so choose?
Get the book. God damn it. Every time I sell one, I make like 4 cents. So I need economies of scale. Um, dude, so I'm at Blackwater Dude and the number one at Blackwater Dude one on Instagram. I'm on TikTok because that's where the millennials are. And when you got titties that look this good, dude, you got to share them with the world. I'm just saying. Um,
Oh, I'm like one step below fucking bodybuilder here. No, that's an exaggeration, but
I mean,
I'm up to a B. I'm up to a B cup.
you need to be on TikTok. I would swoon. Um,
Ain't gonna
you
happen.
can dance. There's videos of me dancing. There are. Yeah. Soak me in. Dude,
That
I got no
that
fucking
tells me
shame.
why you couldn't get Blackwater without the number one. You had to be Blackwater. No, dude, one
Yeah, because that one is actually a pole that I dance on.
that you
It's
dance on.
yeah.
Okay, I think we've gotten off the script here. All right, man. I really appreciate you coming on the show. You got anything for me?
No, man, I appreciate you having me on. Kind of deep dive in this stuff. We don't, most podcasts 30 to an hour. You don't get to kind of dig into it. So hopefully I
No,
can help one person.
and hopefully, yeah, or something there, and people listen to it or whatever. But it's something I didn't know anything about, and I'm sorry if I lost the plot at certain points because I was listening and going, man, I don't know what the fuck like I thought I knew something, and then you started talking and go, well, if this is true, then I didn't know jack shit about Buck. So I'm like, oh man, I'm trying to take too much in. And that happens too when I'm doing these long ones. I'll start learning stuff and I'll go, oh shit, I'm hosting this show here. And there's people listening to me. Who's in charge here? Oh fuck, I'm in charge. God damn it. All right, man. I appreciate you coming on. Bye, everybody.